It's already too hot for the Dixon. What's up, everybody? Let me clap to make it an official GrimmGreen video. Welcome to or welcome back to TBN. This is the live stream where we focus down really on just the sexiest aspect of vaping, and that is the news and the advocacy. We focus on facts and science and policy and legislation and harm reduction and all of the things. I am your bad libertarian, freedom-enjoying host, GrimmGreen, joined now for the last, over a year now.
Or something.
It's been over a year, Danielle Jones. Joined
we
now.
were going to do something for my anniversary, and I think we forgot.
We definitely forgot. But it's been well over a year. It's the far left fact checker, Danielle Jones, president of CASAA. No big deal. What's up, Danielle Jones?
Oh, you know.
Here to learn some stuff about harm reduction and drugs.
Yeah,
me
here to
too.
Talk about drugs, guys.
I'm here to talk about drugs, and what better person in our sphere could we talk to than the great Logan Exhales is here with us today. Hi, Logan Exhales.
How's it going?
Good.
It's a pleasure.
Good.
Yeah, we can talk about drugs.
We're going to.
I love drugs.
We're gonna
I
talk
love people
about
that use drugs, so we can talk about drugs all you guys want.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a thing. I'm here to learn. I'm here to get educated. I'm here to ask questions. We're here to clarify some things. I think it's going to be real good for everybody involved. There's been a lot of people, in addition to, but Matt Cully was recently talking about how embracing the greater, harm reduction movement, much better word to put it, can only help tobacco harm reduction, and will, give us a little bit more perspective on the successes and failures and what have you of harm reduction as a whole, of drug harm reduction, of the war on drugs. It's all kind of connected, and that kind of sparked a thing in me where I went, yeah. That makes perfect sense, Matt Cully. Let's do this. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn and be educated about harm reduction in general and drugs and the such as. I had a few newsy things that I wanted to talk about, but for anybody in the chat that's not familiar with Mr. Logan Exhales, and I'm going to say Logan Exhales every time. I'll never just call you Logan. Just like I'll never call Danielle Danielle. It's Danielle Jones.
He's never called me just Logan.
Nope.
Oh, no, I'm always Danielle Jones.
He's never just said Logan.
Danielle Jones, Logan Exhales. That's how it works.
GrimmGreen? I mean, what are we going to do? Call you Grimm?
Call me Nick? That'd be weird.
That's so weird.
You can call me Nick. I wouldn't mind. It is my Christian name. My God-given
it's
name.
Funny. My husband, I trade back and forth what I call you. When we're in the kitchen cooking dinner and I'm talking about you, sometimes I'll say Nick, but then he gets confused because my boss is also named Nick. You're named Nick. I have a friend whose husband is named Nick. There's a lot of Nicks in my sphere. So sometimes I do Nick and sometimes I say Grimm. So it's really clear who I'm talking about. I switch it up a lot. I keep people on their toes. Who am I talking about? You don't know.
Yeah.
What?
What? Nick? Grimm? See, if you say Logan Exhales, it's just Logan Exhales.
Then
there's no confusion as to who we're talking about. It's Logan Exhales, damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's me.
But for anybody that's not aware of what Logan does or who he is, why don't you introduce yourself? What are your credentials? Why should you be here, Logan?
Oh, good Lord. My credentials.
Justify yourself right now.
I'm just kidding.
I'm still figuring that out, really.
No.
But I'm Logan. And I guess I'm here to talk about harm reduction and drugs, two things that I'm passionate about, that I care about, because I care about people. As somebody who had a problematic relationship with drugs at one point in my time, as a person who quit smoking through vaping, I guess I just kind of care about all of it. So
yeah.
I suppose that's why I'm here today.
That's good. Just because you care about people, that's good.
That's an excellent reason. Also, Logan's on the board of CASAA with me. So
yeah.
Damn.
We got CASAA in the house. Well, if CASAA's in the house, are there any call to actions? Washington State still has a call to action, I believe, for their vape tax. I know I didn't check the CASAA website before this stream, so I'm going to make my fact checkers do it.
Okay, I'm gonna look right now. I'm pretty sure I saw something coming down the pike for Hawaii, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. So,
Heads up, Hawaii.
We got a whole bunch of stuff going on in Hawaii right now.
Really? Heads up, Hawaii.
Okay, yeah, we've got Hawaii. They've got a vapor tax going on. We've got Maine. There's a flavor ban. We've got Alaska. There's a tax.
Flavor bans in Maine right now.
Whoa, no.
Yeah. Hawaii, Maine, Alaska. We've also got Washington State has some stuff going on. There's a few things going on.
Yeah.
And then I think we talked about Utah last time. So yeah, those are the updates since our last stream, I believe, is Washington, Alaska, Maine, and Hawaii. If you guys are in any of those states, you need to get on the CASAA call to action page, join and become a member so you get a special email from Alex letting you know what's happening and how you can fight.
And how you can fight. Yeah, absolutely. When I swipe over here, you can see this. Maine, it kills me when it says, a bill aspiring to advance health equity also contains a ban on any flavored tobacco and vapor products.
Yep.
Yeah, those two things kind of contradict each other, don't they?
Completely, in a severe way. And the people that are aware and know can see this, but they feel like they're doing the right thing. Oh, nope, health equality, health equity, we got to ban vaping for health reasons.
For health reasons, because it's the same thing as smoking.
Right,
you see.
right, because it's the same thing.
And it's flavored. The kids,
they love it. They love it.
Yeah.
You know, Stanton Glantz said that people would just be better off smoking than vaping.
He did.
He did say that. He said that publicly. I saved that tweet, screen captured it just for future posterity. I think I'm going to get it framed to hang it in my office. It's just comedy. So there are some things happening, Maine and the such as. So I'll put some links in the description for the CASAA calls to actions. CASAA makes it super quick and easy, you guys, to do these calls to actions. And the success of a call to action rests solely on the consumer's ability to do it and to get the word out and get other consumers to do it. You know, CASAA gives us the platform and the tools to be successful, and then we kind of have to make it successful. So do those calls to actions, you guys, especially if you're in Maine, Washington, Hawaii. Wait, what's coming up for Hawaii? Did I miss the Hawaii?
I think it was flavor ban. Or no, tax.
Hawaii has a tax.
Hawaii might be both. I don't know. There's a lot going on in Hawaii right now.
Hawaii, yep. Stop a vapor tax. 70% wholesale tax on tobacco products that aren't cigarettes. What?
Which is wild. Do you remember not too long ago, Hawaii was pushing a wild bill trying to raise the smoking age to 100?
Oh,
But yeah, now they want to
generational step up things.
Instead. Yeah.
It's kind of like what they're doing in New Zealand then. In New Zealand, they're trying to,
I think,
every
honestly,
year
in
they
Hawaii,
raise it.
I think, honestly, in Hawaii,
Boston?
it was just one of those... Politicians will kind of do like this trolling thing sometimes, where they will purposely, introduce a wild bill just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I honestly think that's what it is. I think it's political trolling, introducing a bill to raise the smoking age to 100,
or like throwing stuff at the wall
unlocked.
and just
You've reached 100. Here, enjoy your your full flavor, your menthol,
smoke up,
whatever
Johnny.
you want.
Yeah, you've earned it.
You've earned it. A century on this planet. Here you go.
Here you go.
Smoke.
Finally, you can
smoke up.
Well, in New Zealand, they're doing a thing where they raise the age to buy tobacco by a year every year.
Right.
Yeah, incrementally. So
incrementally.
Yeah.
There's a town here somewhere on the East Coast.
I think it's in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
It's got to be in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're doing it kind of in a different way. They're doing it so if you were born before the year 2000 or something, you can never buy tobacco in the state.
It's the same thing. Is it the same thing? They have the same effect.
Oh,
so
okay.
Basically, when you set the smoking age and then you raise it every year, by default, there will always be a group of people who, if you are younger than this, you will never be able to smoke because of the cutoff, when they started doing it. So in effect, it has the same result.
Now, imagine
being the 44, 45, 46-year-old in a group of friends, and your buddy who's 47, it has to be the one to go buy you your cigarettes.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's just
What
awful.
the shit?
That's comical.
It's
That is
awful.
It's awful. It's completely
You
comical.
feel like you're in high school again, right? When you're like 16 and you're asking your 18-year-old friends to
Yeah.
go buy smokes.
You hang out in front of the
now you're 47. You know,
trying to get your buddy. Can
Yeah.
you get off work
Hey, man,
early and go
you
buy
go-
me some cigarettes?
Yeah,
That would be really
they're
helpful.
probably
See,
gonna be like $100 a pack by then.
we just hung out. My buddy John and I just used to hang out in front of the convenience store up on Kingsbury Grade and just stand there and ask literally everybody walking by if they would buy us cigarettes. And it was literally just a matter of time. It's like the first 8 people said no, but that 9th person's like, yeah, bud, I'll pick you up a pack of cigarettes. 2 packs? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
when I worked at a mall when I was like 16, 17 years old, and that's what I would do. Like all my friends who would come to the mall, or just like people, you know what I mean? I would go out and see if people were smoking, ask them to run into the little store inside the mall that sold cigarettes, buy me smokes. Yeah.
And you get them, and then you just
Absolutely.
smoke up. So one thing, Logan, I know you're a big fan of, and it's something I'd like to discuss, is this idea of bodily autonomy. How does cigarette smoking fit into that? Do people have the right or the freedom to smoke cigarettes if they want to?
Sure. I mean, bodily autonomy is really your sovereignty. It's your right to choose what you do with your body, what you choose to put into your body. And I mean, that includes drug use of any kind. That includes women's reproductive rights. You know, it's very much your sovereignty. So yeah, inherently, and I think bodily autonomy is less of an idea and really just more of a human right across the board.
Sure.
One that we tend to, you know, kind of overlook when it comes to drugs and things that really bodily autonomy should protect. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, inherently, people should have the right to smoke tobacco.
And see, I feel the same way, and it feels weird defending smoking, but I think that if you want to smoke cigarettes, you should be allowed to smoke cigarettes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's the same way, you know, and I go on this rant all the time too, usually on Thursdays, about you can eat fast food every meal of every day. And I consider that bodily autonomy. You can eat McDonald's every meal, every day, multiple times a day. You can drink 2 liters of sugary caffeinated soda every day, multiple times a day if you want to, and no one's going to stop you. You know? Maybe your doctor will tell you to lay it off. Maybe your significant other will go. Bloomberg.
The chance to.
Yeah.
He's already tried it
knock
with
that soda out of your
big gulp
hand.
sodas. So
He did try that in
large sugary sodas.
And when he tried that in New York, he got destroyed, just lambasted.
Oh yeah, it didn't go over very well.
Did not go over well.
I mean,
they had
it
Bloomberg
probably got
Nanny
more
and everything.
support than you would like to believe, but yeah, it didn't actually go.
It probably did get some support.
Sure. Yeah, it absolutely
That
did.
is something I never thought about, that there were probably pro-soda ban people in New York during Bloomberg's reign.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. That's depressing. You've depressed me now.
There's pro-soda ban.
I mean, that's the reality, though, is that there were absolutely people in favor of that, you know?
Yeah, it happens here in California. They, like, ban, you know, sodas from, like, schools and things like that. Like, that is a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Dang.
There are people. I mean,
You
so
just pack your kids a lunchbox full of, you know, sodas or whatever.
Yeah. Black
And I
market
Go
think
get your healthy food from the cafeteria, and then here you've got a lunchbox of Coca-Cola, which I can only imagine becomes currency in the lunchroom at that point.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
If sodas are banned and you
I'll
got little
trade you my
cans of Coke.
Coca-Cola for your cosmic brownie kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Not even that. It's like, I'll give you this Coca-Cola and you give me your bike.
Yeah.
Like,
right. Because
that's how valuable
that's
it
a
is.
fair trade.
I'll do your homework for a week if you give me that Sprite, okay?
Give me that Sprite. Give me that sugary soda.
Yeah, I'd be the one who's like, "Oh, you brought Sprite? No deal." No deal.
I mean, let's be real.
You're gonna
Sprite's
try to
little
hand me a
boring.
caffeine-free soda for this bike? Get out of here.
Look, as a caffeine-free person, I enjoy Sprite. I'm a Sprite enthusiast.
Yeah.
Surge was always the best. Were you guys around for Surge?
I did not like
Surge.
Surge in any capacity.
I liked Surge.
A lot of people did.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm personally a fan of Squirt. I think Squirt is the superior citrus soda.
I've flirted with Squirt. I've had brief stints with Squirt where like it's like a month or two and it's like Squirt is all I want. I've discovered I like Ruby Red Squirt more than Squirt. I like whatever the Ruby Red version is. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Soda, look, it's part of bodily autonomy, you know?
Yeah.
You should get to
Squirt,
drink
Coca-Cola, all of it. It is.
But I think the flip side to that,
or at least you should inherently have sovereignty over all of your body. What you choose to do with it.
I agree. That's why I have tattoos. That's why you have piercings. Right. That's why you color the hair the way that you want to color your hair. That's why you grow a beard if you want to grow a beard.
Sure.
But you also have the right to safer alternatives if you want them.
Yeah.
That's the flip side of that. You have the right to smoke, but you should also have the right to access less harmful alternatives.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing when Nick said, defending smoking. I think it's not really defending smoking. I mean, it's not defending, the harms, the death, the disease that comes with smoking. You're not necessarily defending big tobacco companies. You're defending people's autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, absolutely. If people have the right to use cigarettes to smoke, they should inherently also have the right to use nicotine in much safer ways. Yeah.
Well, and I think all of this really comes down to just like information and being educated, because you can say, oh yeah, bodily autonomy, you should be able to smoke cigarettes, but you should know that when you do smoke cigarettes, here's all the science that shows XYZ, emphysema, heart disease, lung cancer, things like that. So just know what you're getting into before you. But if you want to, I'm not going to stop you, type of thing.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that's like the really best case scenario.
That should be the goal, the standard of public health messaging is really just portraying disseminating the facts. Just giving out honest information about, and that's not just about tobacco. I mean, we're kind of halfway there with smoking. We're a lot more honest in public health messaging about smoking than we are with any other form of nicotine, or that we are with basically any other drug. So I guess there's a little credit there, but not much, because often that messaging is also over-exaggerated or used to stigmatize people who smoke.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it really comes down to, the goal of public health messaging should be to just tell people what they need to know. Here's the facts. Here's what it is. Here's what it does. Here's possible side effects. Here's long-term side effects, short-term, yada, yada, etc. Equip people with knowledge so they can make those educated decisions for themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, empower them to choose what's right for them.
And I feel like that's the way it was. I don't know if it ever really was that way, but it felt like that way to me. And then at one point, and you can't even pinpoint it. It seemed like we just started like relying on the government for everything. And it's like, if it's bad, the government should ban it. If it's good, the government should promote it. And that became like the gold standard of what's socially acceptable, what's legal, what's not legal. There's no more.
I think that's true. Yeah, more of the nanny state.
Nanny state nonsense.
Of I don't like something, therefore no one should have access to it, and the government should control it.
Right. Well, and I've always said FDA should regulate vaping for the safety of the products only, not the effects of the products or the dependence of the products.
Right.
That's not what they should be doing. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Right, like regulating, what's allowed in an e-liquid.
Right.
Regulating product standards for batteries and devices.
Yep.
And things like that. Much beyond that, really, FDA shouldn't really have much of a role in it, period.
Yeah.
It's like how they do food, right? Like they make sure it's safe. They make sure food manufacturers aren't putting weird stuff and there's no salmonella. But they're not saying like, you know what? I think that candy is too sugary and you guys shouldn't have that. Like,
Right.
you know what? They don't
Right.
do that.
Yeah,
they just
absolutely.
make sure they don't weigh in on, necessarily whether you should be eating it or whether they should be making it or, if it attracts the children. Because
You're right.
they should treat it more like that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think the for lack of a better term, EVALI, the lung injuries in 2019 are a really good example of the FDA not doing one of the biggest things that it should have done, and that's what we see with food, with produce and things that go out. If there's an outbreak, salmonella, things like this, E. coli, FDA is really quick to act and let the public know this is the batch, this is where it's from, make sure this gets pulled off shelves, yada, yada, yada. And I think there's a lot to do with, cannabis still being a Schedule I drug and, splitting hairs there, but FDA not immediately jumping on this like they would with any other thing. They want to regulate these products, but one of the things they do is those announcements, those, this is bad, this is causing this. I mean, FDA was quicker to act than CDC was, but
That's true.
Yeah.
It
With,
is.
almost 3,000 people injured, 60 some odd people, almost 70 people dead.
I think it
months
was
later,
64 people
we
dead.
get something from FDA.
Yeah. And almost a year later, we get the CDC press release saying, well, it was vitamin E acetate contaminated cartridges. It wasn't
Probably.
probably, most likely.
They
They
still
still
if you,
sneak it in there.
and they do. And
You
if
know
read-
why they
because
sneak it in
sometimes-
there? It's
No, sometimes
still
I'm like,
so
I
dumb.
want to send somebody a source, and I go to the CDC page on EVALI, and it's still not definitive.
Yeah.
Like they're still like, well, we're pretty sure this is what it is, but we can't say it for 100. And I'm like, oh my god, just say it. Stop. What are you doing? Like,
And it's the dumbest reason of all time that just flies in the face of everything that CDC has ever talked about. But they talk
Right.
about, well, there were still
like
a few
two
people
right.
that claim to just use nicotine, so we can't rule it out completely.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you
And
can.
I
Michael
would
Siegel
dare
did
to
a
bet
really
that those-
interesting
can.
blog post about this. He was talking about some crazy outbreak that had happened. This happens all the time. There was something in like coconuts, like people bought like raw coconuts from a Trader Joe's or something, and it had, I don't know, E. coli
Right.
or something weird.
Sure.
And so he told the story of how they like traced this stuff and they pulled receipts from people. And there were like 2 people that got sick from these contaminated coconuts, but swore on their life that they had never purchased or eaten them. Like, this isn't
Yeah.
an isolated thing. It's probably more worse because there's stigma attached to cannabis use because it's still illegal in some places. But
Yeah.
even when it's a coconut, people are like, no, I didn't do that. And it's like,
No.
well, this is the only way you could have gotten this bizarre disease. So yeah, we kind of found a receipt that had your name on it. So pretty sure you did buy the coconut. Like, this always happens, and this is a normal part of, and Michael Siegel was saying, like, this is not new, this always happens, and you just write it off as like, they're confused, they forgot, whatever. But no, in this instance, for EVALI,
They know.
they're like, oh no, this is really important that they said that they didn't.
And the thing about it too is I don't blame the people that said they didn't. There's a good chance those people lived in states where cannabis is illicit. Maybe they have children.
Yeah.
You're looking at getting CPS involved, things
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't blame them at all for lying, and I think that's that stigma, having to hide those things really goes right into the drug war, and many of the the problems, the outcomes that come from that is people are less apt to talk about their substance use. People are less apt to seek help for substance use for fear of prosecution,
Right.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, if we didn't have the drug war and a war on cannabis, there would not have been EVALI.
Absolutely no.
No. Those 65 kids didn't have to die. Those 3,000 people didn't have to get sick. That's a direct intended or unintended consequence of the drug war.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a well-regulated, properly, fairly taxed, legal, safe supply of drugs eliminates, or at least dramatically reduces the black market.
Yeah.
And that's where you have, that's where, the THC cards, vitamin E acetate, all of that. I mean, we see that with just drugs in general, in the drug supply. I mean, particularly right now with fentanyl and fentanyl analogs. But yeah, that's absolutely a result.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned safe supply. And one of those things that, I mean, this is all fairly new to me, but I was listening to, I think it was Ethan Nadelman, talking about safe supply is, the idea that if you're going to use a certain drug, a safe supply would mean consistent doses, right, of this drug, so that when you use it, you know how much you're using, rather than the crapshoot it kind of is now, where you don't know if it's 800 milligrams, that's just an arbitrary number, or 30 milligrams or something like that.
Yeah.
So when you hear about
that's
overdosing,
the issue, really, with the drug supply in general. I mean, if you think about safe supply, just in the way that you would think about any other medication, the way you think about your bottle of Tylenol, the way that you think about whatever
bottle of nicotine,
it says right on the label, this is so many milligrams in this capsule. Take 2. If you're an adult, take 3, whatever. Yeah, that's safe supply.
The ingredients
safe supply
are consistent.
is your liquor store. The products that are on your liquor store shelves are very much drugs, and they're very much regulated for safety. I mean, you may not be getting specific doses out of a handle of vodka. I think that dosing
but at
is
least
up to you at that point. But I think
the overall, like, the what is it called, the measure for alcohol, the
ABV, or
yeah
alcohol?
That, right? Like you trust that when you buy it from the store, that it's not like going to make you go blind because they've produced it with some weird, I don't know, ethanol something, or you know what I mean? Like you trust that what's in that bottle is safe for you to consume as, directed. Same with Tylenol. You trust that they watch their manufacturing, that they're not putting weird stuff in there. They're not cutting it with bizarre things, anything like that.
Well, and yes, and the idea that prohibition creates stronger, more potent.
It's the iron law of prohibition.
Yeah, I mean,
the coined term is the iron law of prohibition, and I mean, we've seen it with. If you just follow, opioids in general, we move from, opium, directly from poppies. We move from opium into heroin, and now into fentanyl, into carfentanil, and the strength of opioids continue to go up from there. But within the market, the more that we crack down on the more agricultural drugs, the harder that we crack down on opium and poppy plantations, the more potent it becomes, because if you still have the same demand, it's a lot easier to skirt these laws by increasing the strength and reducing the amount, the volume. I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I think it was in 2017, we saw somewhere in the range of, I believe, 50,000 fatal overdoses here in this country, and the amount of fentanyl that came to this country would have fit into like 10 50-gallon barrels. And that's it. And that's the iron law of prohibition. When you look at increasing the strength, the potency, dropping the volume to make that shipping, skirting borders and whatnot easier, that's the iron law of prohibition. It becomes much more appealing to have something that's that much more potent, because you don't have to move as much of it to make that same amount of money.
Yeah.
As far as like a market is concerned.
Yeah, that's something I kind of just was reading about today. I've just been trying to, read as much as possible, and that was a thing. And I was reading about one of the reasons that the drug crack even exists is because of kind of the same thing, prohibition with cocaine, and cocaine became crack because it's more potent and less.
So that's a myth.
Is that a myth?
They're the same thing. They're the same.
They're the same drug. Cocaine. Crack cocaine is literally cocaine, typically with a cutting agent, whether it's vitamin B or something like that. That's just boiled down into a crystalline structure.
Right.
It's the same. It's the same drug. It is used differently. Typically, you would snort powdered cocaine. There's a few other ways. I guess you could use cocaine. You could boof it, and then crack. You would technically vape, I guess is the more correct term, but
smoke.
You smoke crack, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're the same drug.
But they have crazy different criminal penalties. Did you know this?
They do.
And
they do have.
Do they really?
They
do. Because of that route of administration, I do want to say there is a difference in how they affect you. And one, crack can be more potent because it's direct to the lung, shorter time frame to the brain. It's a quicker acting rate of administration. So I guess in that sense, sure, but realistically at the end of the day, they're the same molecule.
And the mandatory minimums for crack cocaine are significantly higher than for powdered cocaine.
Yeah, and you can thank Biden personally for the crack house statute. Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Really?
He was involved in passing that. Oddly enough, Trump actually, from what I understand, I think this is correct. He actually, so basically what'll happen is, like, say you have 1 gram, I'm just throwing numbers out, 1 gram of crack cocaine, 1 gram of powder cocaine. If you get caught by the police, the 1 gram of, crack cocaine puts you in prison for 20 years, and the 1 gram of powdered cocaine puts you in prison for 2 years. That's the inequity. Even though they're basically the same drug, they come with very different penalties. And a lot of that can be drawn to the types of people that historically tend to use those types of drugs, right? So
Sure.
So statistically, you'll see more white people, usually of a higher socioeconomic class, using powdered cocaine, and more lower socioeconomic class, brown, black people using crack cocaine. And that's where a lot of this inequity comes from. As I understand it, if I'm not mistaken, Trump actually did a little to lower that, if one is 20 years and one is 2 years, he made them a little closer together, which is
really
an interest. If I'm not mistaken, I think somebody fact check me, but I think Trump did actually close that gap a little bit. It's still unequal and it's still wrong in my opinion, because as Logan said, it is the same drug.
Yeah.
You take it a little bit differently. The price is different, but it's the same thing, and it should not have. And sorry, I'll get off my soapbox.
No, I mean, that's a good soapbox to be on.
Soapbox.
Yeah, that's a solid soapbox.
I don't know how much Trump did in that degree, but it wasn't enough. I think
it wasn't. It wasn't.
Far from enough.
It should be the same.
It should be
none,
zero.
Which is none. Yeah, it should be the same, which is zero. It should be no.
Yeah.
Not 5 for one and 8 for the other. It should be 0 for both.
Yeah. Look, I agree. I personally think that states legalizing cannabis has forcefully thrown a spotlight onto the failing drug war, because you look at things, even in California, there's people in prison for what I did last night. Legally. I had it delivered to my house in a little jar, and I ground it up and I volcanoed it. But then other people who did that, they're still in jail. And I think that's one of the things that made me go, whoa, whoa. And I think it's making a lot of more Americans go, whoa, whoa. This is legal some places, illegal other places. I think when people finally maybe even try cannabis for the first time, you kind of go, why are so many people in prison for this? And I think that has been a huge thing, at least for me, to see just the failures overall of the war on drugs.
Yeah, I mean, we have over 2 million people incarcerated right now on petty drug crimes. We spend over $48 billion a year fighting the drug war.
Yeah.
We incarcerate black and brown people at disproportionately higher rates than we do, affluent white folks using cocaine in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And it's really an appalling thing. Yeah. The drug war. The drugs won a long time ago. It's time to stop fighting the drug war.
Yeah, a long, long time ago. And it's been, I mean, I couldn't find a person who has supported or stood behind the drug war and said, nope, this has been a positive thing. Not a one. Politicians, maybe. I don't know. Not a one.
Oh, yeah. There are plenty of politicians that, applaud what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and what kills me is the drug war, the war on drugs. It's so normalized in society that even when I'm watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you ever watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine? What a great show. No? Nobody? Brooklyn Nine-Nine's great. But like every other episode, the storyline is about drug dealers, drug busts. And that's just part of the, like, that's just what cops do. They go after drugs.
The war on drugs is, one of the biggest reasons or the biggest sources of funding for our police force across the entire country.
Yes.
So ending the drug war is not within the interests of most police departments.
Yeah. No. Or, for-profit prisons as well. They are constantly lobbying anti-drug prohibition so that they can keep incarcerated Americans for small drug offenses in their for-profit private prisons. I don't know how everyone doesn't look at that and go, well, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people go, yes, good. Criminals, the lot of them. You want to use a drug and feel better? Tough shit. You're going to either have to do it safely or we're going to, unsafely or we'll put you in jail if you get caught. That's unbelievable to me. There's no empathy there. Kills me.
No, not
Kills
at all.
me.
And what's amazing is like people forget that all of today's illicit drugs were once legal. Mm-hmm. Opium was a legal activity, a legal substance to smoke, to use. Heroin was once sold in the Sears catalog.
Yeah. Right. So it's over-the-counter stuff.
Yeah, we found a lot of really shitty reasons to make drugs illegal, and racism being at the top of the list.
Yes.
I think opium is one of the biggest
marijuana
obvious things that point this out, and the reason we outlawed opium, we didn't outlaw opium at first. We outlawed the smoking of opium.
I know this story.
Which was really to incarcerate Chinese railroad workers here in America. That was how the Chinese used opium. They preferred smoking it. So we didn't want to outlaw opium as a whole because we didn't want it to affect the white opium users. We just wanted to incarcerate and then get further labor through incarceration out of Chinese railroad workers. And I think that's one of the biggest glaring, we didn't just outlaw opium because it's unsafe, it'll make you murder people, it'll do all these wild things. We just outlawed the smoking of opium just to specifically target this one group of people.
Community, this one group of people.
Right, because the white workers in the area would get upset because the Chinese workers would work longer hours for less pay. So they were getting outbid. It's that quintessential, the immigrants are taking my jobs situation. This is way back, roots of this type of thing.
Yeah, we outlawed opium in 1909.
Mm-hmm.
And it was legal
for this reason. No. It was to target Chinese immigrants who were working for less pay than their white counterparts would.
Mm-hmm. Well, isn't even the term marijuana a racist term to begin with?
It is, yeah.
Completely racist term to begin
with.
And
we outlawed cannabis because we were basically, this is how we were forcing Mexican Americans into our incarceration system.
Well, that's certainly depressing.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
We did the same thing, like we were talking about the discrepancies in crack cocaine and powdered cocaine, and a lot of that was to disrupt, the black voters in inner city Democratic black voters.
This is true. There is a very famous quote from one of Nixon's advisors.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's Jonathan Edelman or something like that. I can't remember his name exactly. But he basically says, the Nixon camp, we knew that we couldn't just stop the black people from voting. Blacks and hippies is what they said. So we went after drugs because that targeted both of those groups and would prevent them from voting. I mean,
it was really to stop the Black Panther movement and black voters. Really, that was the biggest, and hippies, as well. Darn those hippies,
anti-war
darn those
hippies.
voting hippies.
Well, and it was also, I mean, it's to keep them from voting, but I feel like it was also an unintended consequence of then you get the stigma of, dirty drug users, right? So it's not just a vilify them and keep them from voting. It's like make society right. The toolbox of oppression, like make society,
not listen to them,
listen to them, not respect them, stigmatize them.
Absolutely.
Bottom rung of society if you use drugs or smoke marijuana.
Right.
Yeah. All these laws written by white people. It's another good, really good indicator.
Probably a pretty good indicator right there. But it's not all like Oregon. Oregon has passed Measure 10 like a year ago.
Yeah, which is
so that's a positive thing.
I don't want to move away from that too quickly because I think there is something to point out about how deeply we've stigmatized people who use drugs, because in the 80s and during the crack epidemic, there was a lot of support for these harsher drug laws from the black community. And I think that is a testament to this country's ability to sway people and misinformation, are the propaganda machine, if you will, to garnish support for these incredibly harsh drug laws from the community they were affecting the hardest. Yeah, which is, it's just wild. It's just wild. But Oregon doing great things.
Yeah, I feel like Oregon's
decriminalizing
doing
drugs.
Yeah,
a year ago, it's been very successful.
Has
Oregon.
It been? How has Oregon,
it has been.
Over the last year? This is something I haven't kept track of, but I remember when Oregon passed Measure 10. How is Oregon stacked up against other states that haven't done this?
I mean, much better.
Much better.
I don't have
right?
any, numbers in front of me to pull up.
If you give me a minute, DPA did a tweet about this for the anniversary.
They did.
Because it just happened.
I haven't looked into it, but
I just need to find it. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment.
So some people, I guess, are a little confused on Measure 10, but really they're basically mimicking. They are basically mimicking. I'm drawing a blank here. It's been a long day. The country that
Norway?
decriminalized drugs.
Norway did it in 2017.
2001.
Oh, okay. I don't know about 2001, but I know that Norway did it in 2017. Oh, Portugal.
There it is.
Portugal.
Portugal. Decriminalized drugs in 2001. Portugal is a much smaller country than America. But if you look at what they were going through in the late 90s as far as HIV, fatal overdoses, all of these things, Portugal was in a really bad place. And basically they looked at their punitive drug laws, which were basically the same as ours, and how rapidly those laws were failing the people in that country. They basically did a full 180, and they decriminalized drug use. I think it's something like a small fine, and then they're offered help, treatment, whatever, for their drug use. There's a minimum amount of any substance. Given the substance, it varies how much someone can legally have on them at any time. But they basically did a full 180 on drugs. And since 2001, they have seen a dramatic drop in their incarceration rates, their HIV rates, their crime, drug-related crime is extremely down. But yeah, Oregon basically copied Portugal.
Yes,
I want Oregon to be really, really successful with this.
I found an op-ed from Truth Out called "Drug Decriminalization is Working in Oregon. Other states should follow." And it talks about in the year since the state decriminalized drugs through a ballot initiative, Measure 110, and with only about 10% of the allotted funding distributed to 70 community-based organizations so far, Oregon has already been able to provide peer support, harm reduction, evidence-based treatment, housing, and job assistance to more than 16,000 people. Prior to this measure passing, Oregon ranked last in access to treatment and recovery services.
Yep. Wow, from last to first.
I don't know if it's first, but I know they've definitely gotten better. Let's see. This article, this is an opinion piece. Let me see. There's one other post I found. Year 1 from Treatment Magazine. Let's say. Pop-ups, you guys. What is going on here?
Pop-ups.
Freaking pop-ups. What year is it?
That's exciting.
I know.
That is.
It's always these like random news sites. Let's see. It was championed by DPA, which is definitely an organization you guys should follow on Twitter if you're interested in this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But let's see. More than 16,000 people have gotten access to services that they need. Sharp decline in drug arrests since it took place. Let's see. Critics raise issues. Blah blah blah. I'm on the fly trying to find information for you.
Good. You're doing a bang up job, fact checker.
Brought a level of stability, an estimated $600,000 in grant funding, all kinds of stuff.
Positive things. It sounds like positive things.
Yes.
Positive things, helping people, keeping people from dying. That seems like all positive things to me.
Yes, absolutely.
In a big way.
Yeah, I mean,
Good job,
I
Oregon.
think there's still a lot of work to be done in Oregon, but I think this is a really good hell of a start, and I hope that it sets, a precedent and a benchmark for other states quickly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like how slow has the rollout of legalized cannabis been state per state? It was like Colorado, California, and then the whole West Coast, basically. I don't know if it just happened in Arizona.
When did Colorado legalize?
I think Colorado was the first state in the
thought
Republic.
They were the
2003?
I'm going to fact check this.
Maybe it was later than that.
I'm good. I'll do some fact checking. It says Colorado and Washington were the first states to legalize recreational use in November 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was way off.
2012.
It's a lot more recent than I thought.
Yeah. So since 2012, but even that has been real slow. Like maybe once a year, once a legislative session, it'll come up in each state. We don't have a countrywide legalization on marijuana yet. So the idea that I think that other states might follow Oregon's lead if and when it's legalized in all 50 states. Progress is slow, It
is.
Progress is real slow. But Oregon gives me hope in the same way that the Philippines legalizing vaping gives me hope, because the Philippines were staunch, really anti-vaping, prohibition to the bone. And then over the course of like 2.5, 3 years, now they're harm reduction gung-ho, and they're going to legalize and regulate vaping as a less harmful alternative for smokers to use, and they did a complete 180. So when I see things like that, and I see things like Oregon, you kind of go, okay, we have some momentum going forward. It's just really very slow.
Yeah, and in the last year, New York City became the first place in this country to have a sanctioned safe consumption site.
Yeah, that's
huge.
Great. That's great. That's huge. Well, and the federal government, I heard, is mailing crack pipes to people, according to Marco Rubio. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a video that goes along with that.
Yeah, I
don't know if you wanted to.
Here, I want to play this video. Yeah, I want to play. Whoop, we're popping up here. Let's
we gotta go circles.
Yeah, we gotta go circles. No more circles. No more squares, just circles. So this is Marco Rubio, and he's not wrong. He's just wrong. So he's correct about the facts, but he's wrong about everything else, literally.
How he's portraying it is extremely misleading.
Yeah, very misleading. That, and what the hell is wrong with his shirt? Why does it look like that? It looks like he has the hanger in it still a little bit, or he's got like tiny little muscles right here that are flexing. Okay, anyway, I won't make fun of his appearance. What do you have to say, Marco Rubio?
The Biden administration is going to be sending crack pipes and meth pipes targeting minority communities in this country, underserved communities.
Targeting.
I know that sounds insane. I know that sounds too crazy to be true. They confirmed it yesterday. They call them smoking kits, and they say it's about equity, but they have in essence confirmed that they're going to be mailing and sending pipes that can be used to smoke crack and meth to underserved communities in America. This is insanity.
Yeah.
This isn't even about liberal and conservative anymore. This is about crazy versus normal, insane versus common sense. Where does this end?
It's insane to want people to not die from drug use.
Right.
Yeah.
According to Marco
What a
Rubio.
concept.
It's crazy to
yeah.
Marco Rubio that harm reduction is a thing.
Yeah, wanting people to
And
be safe.
he's in
sterile,
power.
clean.
He's an important person. He has 4 million followers on Twitter that all watch that hogwash.
Yeah.
Yeah, targeting minority
Yeah,
communities.
targeting.
How about providing
Providing.
resources to communities that need it the most? How about that? That's the you twisting things. They're
Yeah.
not like there's a community, let's send them crack pipes. Like
Yeah.
that's not what's happening here. They're
No.
saying who needs access to safer alternatives.
Yes.
Let us send the safer alternatives to the people that need them.
Yes.
It's not like Joe Bob's going to wake up with a crack pipe on his porch. That's not, who has never, I don't know, touched it or used it or ever thought about it before. That's not what this program is.
It's not going to just random people from the
No.
phone book or something.
They're giving harm reduction resources to people that will benefit from harm reduction.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That would be
Whoa.
like if we were mailing vape starter kits to people who smoked because they were looking for resources.
Like they do in Yorkshire, England, where they give away free e-cig kits, free vape kits to anybody that wants them, any smoker that wants them.
But if
Marco
you ask that
Rubio
guy,
would freak out about that.
oh yeah, he would say they're targeting the families with children and they're sending the flavored vapes directly to the children.
This is
That's what he would
insanity.
say. Yes.
It's insanity.
It's too crazy to be true.
Right.
Mark Rubio said. Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine that this is part of the 2021 budget bill. The federal government allocated funds for harm reduction services and supplies, and I can only imagine that this is part of that, and that these products aren't just going to end up on, your doorstep. These are products. These are supplies that are going to be sent to harm reduction organizations and facilities and clinics, safe consumption sites, things like that, where people have access to clean and sterile supplies to imagine this, reduce their harm.
Reduce their harm. Well, there's
What a
this
concept.
There's this whole other stigma of harm reduction that it infuriates me in a way that I can't explain when you hear people talking about, harm reduction is just enabling addiction. And that makes me want to pull my hair out.
Yeah. I mean, if people are going to do an activity, why would we want them to do it in the most harmful way possible?
Yeah, that's a really great question.
Why is that the general consensus?
Yeah.
Right.
You're doing a thing I don't approve of, so I want you to do it in the most dangerous way possible.
Yeah, the most
Right,
dangerous
like
way
you're gonna go
possible.
drive this car. I want you to do it with no roof, no seatbelt, no airbag. I want
Yeah.
the wheels to be on fire.
Big
And
metal
that's
spoke
the only
out
way
of the
I
middle
want
of
you
it.
to.
Because I don't
it's-
drive, and I don't think you should be driving either, so I'm going to put you in a car from hell.
Yeah, in the most
Yeah.
most dangerous way possible.
And I think this is our moral failing in this country. This is our lack of empathy towards people who use drugs. Is that we think drug use is this evil, harmful, terrible thing, which by the way, the majority of people across the planet who use drugs do so in a non-problematic way.
Yeah.
They're just everyday people that have jobs and pay their taxes and feed their kids and go to bed.
Yeah.
They just happen to use drugs. But, we have this massive moral failing in this country where we vilify drug use. And so any concept that comes up about making that safer for people, which they're going to inherently do, we think that we're enabling addiction.
Right. Enabling addiction, which, even if you are, is that the worst? I mean, we're not enabling
the biggest
death.
thing here is this has been one of the biggest arguments against safe consumption sites, is that you're enabling addiction. But a safe consumption site is a facility where someone can go with the drugs that they've bought. They're given, sterile supplies, clean supplies. There are trained staff there. In the case of a fatal overdose, not one person has died in any safe consumption site around the world, by the way.
Yeah.
0 people.
Not surprised by that at all. Because it's called a safe consumption site. If it was called a dangerous
that's
consumption site, then I go, well, people might get hurt there.
And a lot of people look at that and they go, well, you're enabling addiction. Well, first and foremost, we're reducing harm in people, making sure that people stay alive. In those facilities, they also have a lot of other services as well. There's a lot of, treatment services that people have access to through these facilities, so they can, if they choose to, again, their own autonomy, respecting and treating people with dignity if they choose to. Here are the services that they can get access to and how to do that.
And it has to, I feel like it has to be of their own volition. You can't coerce or force people into rehab or programs or things like that.
No.
Right.
I feel like that's...
And to Logan's point earlier, so first off, addiction is a really complicated way of looking at this because it has a negative connotation and it implies harm, right? If someone, for example, uses heroin and they do not have a problematic relationship, that's the phrase that I like to use. They do not have a problematic relationship with heroin. They use it recreationally, occasionally. It does not negatively impact their life, financially, emotionally, family, none of it. They just, the way that some people on this show perhaps use cannabis, just as a feel good occasionally.
I know
that's not addiction,
that use
right?
heroin like it's your nightcap.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But calling that an addiction is not really accurate because that's not problematic use, right? That person is fine with how they're living and they want to continue living that way. Now, there are people with problematic relationships with substances who perhaps want assistance to change that type of relationship, whether they want to stop using the substance, whether they want to switch to a less problematic substance, whatever that may be. And we should have resources for those people. But if they don't want that, why would you not give them the option to continue doing what they're already going to do, whether you agree with it or not, in a more safe way?
Yeah.
Right? That's what we're getting at here, is that enabling addiction. That's like people who say to us, oh, vaping, you're just trading one addiction for another, right?
Yep.
Well, no, if it is less harmful to your life, it is a less problematic relationship, then leave everybody alone, right? That's what, and I see some people in chat who are
very libertarian of you to say that.
Who are struggling a little with this concept, and so I wanted to get that out. I hope that helps you guys in chat. But we're not coming at this as people shouldn't use drugs because it's bad. If people want to use drugs, they should use drugs if they want to. You know what I mean? That's not our job to run around telling people what they shouldn't be doing, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
And I think the opinion of my fellow
Absolutely.
hosts.
Absolutely.
That's not our job to do that. If somebody is having issues and they need help, I want to help them.
Yeah.
If someone is doing something that they like, but the way that they're doing it has a lot of risk to them personally, we should help them reduce that risk so that they can keep doing that thing that they like to do.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm talking in circles.
No, I agree with you. And it's like, you're painting with a pretty broad brush, but I'm sure there are circumstances where maybe someone's using whatever XYZ drugs and it's hurting their family and their kids don't have shoes or food or something like this. There's nuance to it, right? There's intricacies to it, and overall, if I had a friend and I would want to help them, I would want to help someone. But if I get what you're saying, it's a sticky ground to walk across. But I see where you're coming from. I think
the biggest thing that people should take away from all of this is that criminalization and punishment isn't the answer. Oftentimes, addiction stems from pain, stems from trauma. There's a lot of reasons that go into addiction, and using one drug one time is definitely not it. For anybody out there still on the one hit and you're hooked idea, it's extremely false.
That's not real.
It's not real. But oftentimes, addiction stems from pain, stems from trauma. And so we have people, when we do have people who do have problematic relationships with drugs, who are addicted to a substance, we throw them in jail. We don't help them. We don't address their trauma, their mental health issues, their socioeconomic, state, how they are. And I think harm reduction as a whole is a complex series, I guess, of just pragmatic ideas that help people get back on a path to having a more fulfilling, positive life. And every positive change is a good thing, whether that's somebody reducing their usage, somebody using clean supplies, having access to a safer supply or a pharmaceutical supply or something like that. All of these things are part of someone's recovery. And I think a lot of people equate recovery with abstinence, which is not always the best thing for everyone. Some people really struggle with abstinence, and they actually do much better continuing their usage or reducing their usage or getting onto a safer supply or a pharmaceutical supply. Methadone being we talked about Suboxone before the show.
Yeah.
So, which, trust me, there's a lot of issues with that as well, especially with methadone clinics. For anybody out there, I am going to talk really quick about Helen Redmond and her documentary. It's a short documentary, and it's called Liquid Handcuffs. And it's really good, and it's about how people are tied to methadone clinics and how disruptive it is to their life, because people are not able to go and get their medication and take it home like you would any other medication, like you would with any other maybe antidepressant or things like that, where you go to your pharmacy and you get a 30-day supply, safe supply, you go home, you take your medicine, you're good. You can't do that with methadone. And there's really no reason why other than to further punish and stigmatize people who use drugs. So
it's really sad. I think therapeutics
I saw in
like
chat,
that.
There's a war on kratom too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, kratom is a whole other.
Yep. That is an interesting one, actually. I work on some products in that area, so I've done some deep dives into that. That one's interesting. But in terms of therapeutics, like medication therapeutics, I don't know what the correct terminology is in terms of for those kinds of medications, but essentially, for anybody that doesn't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Logan, but it's a similar. It affects your body in a similar way that using the original drug that you were using does. So it prevents you from going through withdrawal. I believe you're not high per se when you take the drug, but it just keeps withdrawal at bay. Is that an accurate way to describe that?
I think that's the idea, but that's not always the case.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
But these kinds of medications can be life-saving for a lot of people, but they come with a lot of
absolutely, without a doubt,
stigma attached to them.
A lot of people refer to it as like a maintenance drug, and I know a number of people who every day they get up and they take their Suboxone with their coffee, and they go to their job, and they come home to their kids, and they have dinner, and they watch football, and they go to bed.
Yeah.
And that's your drug user. That's your That's
right,
it.
and that helps them, live their lives.
Yeah.
But with
there's a lot
all
of people
kinds of
who would, look down on that because
Right.
they would say you've traded one addiction for the other. You're still dependent on this medication or whatever. I mean, I think a lot of us are all dependent on a lot of things. Maybe things that we don't all, think of as drugs, caffeine, nicotine, things like that. I'm, before the show we talked about caffeine. Nick over here living his caffeine-free lifestyle.
Caffeine-free, baby.
I'm a person who's heavily dependent on caffeine.
Yep.
I'm
decaf
very
coffee
much
right
one
here.
of those don't talk to me before my coffee kind of people. Yeah,
That's me too.
I'm definitely
I used to be
someone
that
who's
guy.
Dependent.
Oh, I am
Who's
that.
dependent on caffeine, and I have no interest in not being that guy because I love caffeine.
Right. But
I
we
do
don't.
too.
But the government doesn't force you to ingest caffeine.
Yeah, they don't force me to
in like
travel
a
50
horrible
miles to a clinic.
Yeah, 50
criminalize
miles
it.
to a
For 6
Starbucks.
hours.
Get your cup. You have to drink it in the store, and then you can leave, and then you have to come back and do that every week or whatever. Ugh,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, every day for some people.
Yeah.
And then they
Multiple
wonder,
times.
well, why don't you get a job? Well, your entire day, every day, is spent going to the methadone clinic. Half the day is spent there, then your other half of your day is at home, trying to do whatever else you need to do to get by, or if you have a home at all. And so it's a big cycle that keeps people basically tied to these clinics, and it's really disruptive to people's lives. And I would definitely recommend people watch that and check that out.
Yeah. Breeze Tones feels targeted right now. Hashtag coffee dependent. But that's a really simple, easy term to put it in kind of a little bit into perspective of drugs and caffeine is, and look, when I was doing caffeine, like when I was using caffeine or consuming lots of caffeine, I absolutely felt a strong dependence on it. I mean, I was working graveyard shift, and when you go to work at 11 p.m., it's like caffeine is your best friend.
Sure.
And you get tolerance to it.
Yeah, you ever get the caffeine headaches?
Yes. It was like
See,
a
I
daily
never
part
get
of my
that.
life.
I don't get that.
I do.
Yeah.
I'll get them.
When I was consuming a lot of caffeine, I would get caffeine headaches constantly. But it's just a normal thing. And I don't know. Nobody questions it. I know it's a little bit of like whataboutism with caffeine. But I mean, the parallels between like people consuming alcohol. How did alcohol get a free pass? And I know this is severe whataboutism, but I always bring up alcohol. And if you had the choice between pot and alcohol, how did alcohol
there was
win?
There was a lot of money involved because we did prohibit alcohol production.
Yeah,
at
we
one point
did.
in this
We
country.
did.
And a lot of people think that alcohol became legal again because some folks died and whatnot. There was
right.
Yes, that is on the surface one of the reasons a lot of people did die during alcohol prohibition because tainted supply, bathtub gin as they call it. But there was also a lot of money that pushed back against that from a lot of large alcohol companies, breweries, things like that.
Yeah. Well, and prohibition, when we talk about prohibition causing more concentrated, smaller doses of things, during prohibition, all the bootleggers were making
Hard liquor.
Hard liquor. You couldn't get beer.
It's so much
Moonshine.
easier to move a few barrels of whiskey than it is to
than
move
cases
Exactly.
of
hundreds
beer.
of barrels of low alcohol beer.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that right there is a perfect example of the iron law.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really a perfect example.
It is.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Nobody was. No IPAs were getting smuggled
you weren't
around.
getting any little 4%,
This is like
5% beers.
gin or
Little
No, it wasn't worth
IPAs.
anybody's time.
Yeah.
right.
And so
no,
prohibition made the supply unsafe, less safe, more
And
potent. And here we are in the middle of a war on drugs where the drugs get less safe, more potent. Now, how does that translate into vaping? I'm afraid, here's what I'm afraid of, Logan. I'm afraid of vaping and THR trying to glom on to the greater harm reduction, effort and not being accepted, not being taken seriously. Nicotine's, it's a drug, but it's It's not like
It's a rather benign.
it's
drug.
a rather benign drug, and I don't want to steal their thunder, but I feel like that THR is definitely a part of it, and I don't know how to quantify that in my head.
I think in terms of prohibition, I'm less concerned, and I think most people are less concerned with the product itself. Vaping was unregulated for a really long time.
Yeah.
We vaped a lot of our friends' e-liquids for a really long time, and we didn't have any issues.
Dude.
I'm really not awfully concerned, and there aren't very many things out there that would make e-liquid more affordable to make and better or whatever, for a lack of a better term. There's not a lot of reason to cut e-liquid with anything. Everything's already pretty cheap. So the things that concern me are the other, kind of the outliers of prohibition that I think we forget about a lot of times, and that's unsafe interactions that people may get into when they're trying to purchase these products. They don't have the same protection as you would walking into a store with cameras and accountability and things like this. If you're buying your products out of the trunk of someone's car, deals go bad all the time. And also, like incarceration, like if we make this legal, if it becomes illegal for people to sell, there's a lot of reason to get involved in illicit markets for money, opportunity, financial gain. But are we really willing to just throw another 1 million people in jail for strawberry e-liquid?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I hope not. Yeah, I mean, look, I hope not.
I mean, we did it with a plant, you know. Why wouldn't we do it with?
We did do it with a plant.
I think those are some more of the bigger concerns, really, with the overall black market and illicit, e-liquid world. Like I think those are bigger concerns than, am I going to get a bottle of e-liquid with ammonia in it for bigger clouds, Yeah. Does anybody remember that hearing?
No, what was
ammonia
very vaguely.
Bigger clouds. I always get a kick out of that.
I think I remember hearing something about it. Was silly.
Yeah, it was I think actually Alex was at that hearing. I believe it was in New York. And a woman was on stage talking about how they, we vapors add ammonia to our e-liquids so that way we can get a better throat hit and bigger clouds.
That's not a thing, sir.
That's not a thing either. That's not a thing at all. Well, and that leads into this. I wanted to share this, the old hacking your mod system, dripping. Yeah. Look at this CDC messaging. Dripping. Users hack the mod system. To create a bigger hit amount of the substance used. This is done by increasing the temperature used to heat the e-liquid. Dripping is when users expose the heating coils to drip liquids directly on the heating device, and you get a more flavorful and thicker cloud of aerosol. Oh, aerosol. What a scary sounding word.
That sounds like it was written by a robot. Like someone who understands words but doesn't understand how they fit together.
Yes.
It like a robot.
Dripping is dangerous because then it can expose the users to higher levels of the substance. Nicotine, cannabis.
No.
Nope. Wrong.
You do not drip cannabis.
Nobody in the history of cannabis has dripped I mean, I don't want to make that broad of a statement, but you don't drip cannabis. And
you want to burn it.
Harmful toxins such as formaldehyde, acetaldehyde, which are known carcinogens. Dripping. Oh, my camera died.
Oh, your camera died.
That's okay.
Haha, Logan, it's just us.
It's just you guys. Keep it going just for a second. This is when I take over. Let me change my camera battery.
This is the moment Danielle takes over.
This is mutiny, basically. This is my moment. No. Yeah,
just retitle this stream The Takeover.
Basically, yes, you guys. I did a takedown thread of that piece, so if you follow me on Twitter, you already know how I feel about that.
I believe I liked and shared all of it.
Yes.
That's ridiculous. That is written by someone who is like a robot. Like they heard from their friend that these are the words the vapors use, but they don't really understand how to use the words properly or what they're even talking about.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
I was hacking my mod system actually over here while you had that up.
Yeah. We're all hackers, guys.
And like the only thing I can think is hacking.
Look at that horrible wick job.
Look at that horrible wick job. Look at this. I mean, it's a little round wire coil. I mean, that looks very normal to me. If I did this, I'd go, that's a successful build.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I'm assuming it looks like a Kennedy. They did a great job.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job on that Kennedy. I don't know what the top one is. I think that's a Tsunami from Geek Vape, but I'm not 100% sure. I think the term hacking might have like done well in a test focus group. And so they went,
seriously.
Okay, we're going with hacking, right? Hacking. They hack their devices.
No!
Yeah. They did, CDC did another test group like FDA did with epidemic, and they asked a bunch of kids which word sounds scariest.
Yeah,
and they went with hacking.
Yeah.
Yeah. The boomers thought hacking sounded scary, so they decided to call it hacking.
All those hackers out there.
All those young people hacking their mods.
I know, and you could just
to be
see
fair,
them going.
I have seen Nick go full Russian hacker before.
I have done that.
I mean,
so.
that is a unfortunate funny
I have
joke,
seen
but
him go full
It's
Russian
only when
hacker.
I'm dripping,
Actually,
though.
While he's dripping, yeah.
Full Russian hacker. Hang on, I just hacked my mod. I need to.
Oh,
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah.
No. Like, they clearly spoke to no one.
You actually screw an atomizer onto the mod, you've hacked it.
Yeah, you've hacked it. You've
two things you can buy commercially available, and you put them together, and apparently that's hacking.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, I bought my phone, and then I bought the case that goes on it, and then I put them together.
Hacked it.
I just hacked the phone.
You hacked it.
Friggin' phone hacker.
You should try to get a job at your cell phone provider.
Hacking.
And be like, what? Like the guy who cracked the first iPhone or whatever got a job through Apple.
Yeah.
You could be like, look, I hacked my iPhone.
Oh, is this not? Are these not what these words mean?
According to the CDC.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in there. You should give me a job according to the CDC because I just hacked.
Yeah.
Terminology and nomenclature matter, and it upsets me that people are going to see this and go, yes, this is a thing. That's a real thing. Because all they have to do is go on YouTube and see me reviewing an RDA and talk about my love of dripping and how I'm a dripper and I use RDAs for dripping. And they're going to assume that I'm a hacker of some sort, or, I mean, that's...
Yeah. At one point in time, part of that post was actually true, prior to, I don't know, better coil heads and things, but the part where, people drip directly onto their coils for bigger clouds and flavor, I think that's what that post says somewhere in it.
Yeah,
it does.
Is probably the most truthful point here.
Yeah.
In my thread, I was like, okay, kind of. Like, I'll kind of give you that. Like,
yeah.
One would argue that, a lot of the tanks and coil heads and things have gotten a lot better and give you just as good a flavor and cloud production as any RDA would. But definitely at one point, yeah. Absolutely.
And there are those of us that still feel that it's just the most best flavor when you drip.
It's just the most best flavor.
Everyone's different, and everyone can have what they want.
Yeah, you can vape a sub-tank, or you can hack your mod.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was once upon a time the most beautiful thing, or one of the beautiful things about vaping was there was something for everybody,
Yeah. Look, there still kind of is something
you
for
want to go
everybody.
full Russian hacker and drip on your hot coils.
Drip on your hot coils. Drip it. Yeah. Just the language they use is like scary language. Dripping on your coils.
What about wick? You're not talking about wick at all? Like,
I mean, that, and you can describe anything using scary sounding terminology. Like, an internal combustion engine. Oh, they put flammable liquid in a reservoir and use it to make tiny explosions
with sharp metal parts that can pierce your body
to move these 5,000-pound death machines.
It makes me think right back to us discussing Marco Rubio and his targeting of minority communities.
Right.
That's that same play of words to entice fear, entice concern, as opposed to, we are going to target the communities with these really helpful resources, that need them the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
kinda
goal.
how helping
Why do you
people
have to
work.
make it sound awful?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it's
you
a
don't
good
give help
thing.
to people who don't want it or need it. You
Yeah.
give it to
But
those.
yeah, I mean, that's how you sway that public opinion. You know, is he completely wrong? I think in some ways, sure, there are other non-minority communities that definitely need these supplies as well, but disproportionately, minority communities have been most heavily affected. And yeah, they absolutely need them, but when you say targeting minority communities, you make it sound like this evil thing.
Yeah.
When it's actually a really good thing.
Well, and there's just that dissonance of he doesn't even get why it's happening.
Well, right. He doesn't say these are people that are already in need of the pipes, for example. He makes it sound like you're some unassuming, confused person off the street getting targeted with a pipe. Like, no, you are a person who is already using drugs and in need of said safer pipe.
Yeah.
Like, you left that part out.
You left that, yeah. So how do we win people over like Marco Rubio? I mean, I know progress is slow, but I feel like there's some people that are just never going to fucking get it. Sorry for obscenities. Never going to fucking get it. And I don't know how to deal with that. Just never going to get it. They're going to go to their grave thinking that drugs are terrible and that people that use them should be locked up and that vaping is just changing one addiction for another and they don't get harm reduction. They don't have empathy. It makes me insane.
I think I mean, I agree with you. I think there are some people that are just very stuck in their ways. I don't think that we should ever give up hope on trying to sway people. Because there are a lot of people at one point that I thought would never change their ways, and they have, or their thinking. But we combat that. We face that with evidence, with good policy, with compassion, and that's how we face that. And eventually that wins. You know.
Yeah. It wins. It always wins, and I think harm reduction is going to win. I think vaping is going to win, and I always bring this up. I've probably said this on YouTube at least 800 times, but when I was in New Zealand and I was talking to Alex Wodak, he was very confident in saying, oh, it's just going to take some time, but harm reduction measures always win. Always win.
Yeah, they do.
Always win. And
I mean,
I'm like,
when we look at...
Tell me more, Alex Wodak. I want to know about this.
Alex Wodak is great.
He's the bomb.com.
I mean, he's, especially his work in safe consumption sites around the world is a testament to the man. But he's absolutely right. I mean, you look at the history of harm reduction in the United States, it really started during the HIV/AIDS crisis. It started with with needle exchanges, which were fought tooth and nail. And now we have 200 plus needle exchanges across the country. We have Oregon that just decriminalized drug use. We have our first safe consumption site in New York City. So yeah, in the last 40 years, which is a long time, progress is slow, but we've definitely made a lot of headway.
Yeah.
And I think right now we're in this really critical point where we have a lot of momentum, and public opinion is really changing, and people are starting to realize that this system of cruelty and punishment that we've put around drugs and people who use drugs for so long is just failing. It's always failed. But we're finally really seeing the outcome of it.
Yeah, and I feel
Marco Rubio maybe isn't, but
yeah, Marco Rubio may never. I'd like to try. I could make that just my pet project. Like, all I have to do is switch Marco Rubio's mind. Just change his
Perhaps
mind.
If Marco Rubio has a very close friend or family member that winds up struggling with this issue, I think that is something that might change his mind.
Yeah.
When people have a personal connection, it's so easy to other people. Like, oh, those are the drug users, the people who do the drugs, when you don't know them or speak to them or have any live experience with that community. Like, it's very easy to other people. But once, your mom or your cousin or your sister or your child struggles with an issue, relating to drugs or substance use, it can very quickly shift how you feel about these things. And so I think sometimes for those kinds of people, you know, they need to know that there is someone in their life that this affects, so that they can't other them quite so easily.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like that's an easier card to pull with cigarette smoking, right? Because I think cigarette smoking affects mass amounts of people. I think everybody I've ever spoken to ever knows someone or had a family member, uncle, grandfather, something die from smoking related, death and disease or whatever. I think smoking is a real... Everybody knows someone who smoked or has a family member that smoked, and I don't know. Maybe there's a way. Maybe there's an inroad there.
Yeah.
Right.
I think what I would encourage, I think, a lot of people to take away from all of this is that I think we view drug harm reduction and tobacco harm reduction as these two separate things, when the reality is that they're the same thing. We just, for some reason, we've chosen to kind of silo ourselves off. But really, I mean, we're all harm reductionists. You know, you're reducing your harm. You believe in products. You believe in your autonomy to use these products to reduce harm in your life. Nicotine is in fact a drug. I think a lot of people don't like to look at nicotine that way, but it is very much a drug.
Definitely.
This is drug harm reduction. We've just chosen to specifically make it tobacco harm reduction. I mean, there are differences. You know, tobacco isn't up against a 50-plus year militarized police force.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some nuance to it, and there's definitely differences there. But ultimately, we're really all on the same side. We really want, we all want the same things. We want to reduce death. We want to reduce disease. We want to save lives. So. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's like that. That's the meat. I was going to say meat and bolts, but that's not a saying.
Yeah, you're mixing your metaphors there, friend.
But that is
the nuts and potatoes of the whole thing.
That's the nuts and potatoes of the whole thing.
Well, I like nuts and potatoes, actually.
Nuts and potatoes?
Meat and bolts is weird, but nuts and potatoes is...
Meat and bolts is hard to say. It just doesn't roll off the tongue quite as eloquently as...
Somebody said something that relates to, I think it was probably the DPA Twitter or somebody smart. I read a quote that was basically like, harm reduction is the sole effort when trying to combat these sorts of things that saves lives immediately without fail. It is the only strategy that immediately saves lives and stops people from dying. Because when you do criminalization, when you even, certain kinds of treatments into like rehab or things like that, that doesn't immediately save someone's life. It can, but it doesn't always, right? Because people relapse or it doesn't work or it makes them worse in terms of, definitely with criminalization. But harm reduction, you're literally not asking them to change anything about what they're doing. You're just giving them a safer way to do it. And that immediately lowers their risk of dying and immediately saves their life.
Yes.
Instantly.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah. There's a reason why there's 2 doses of Narcan in my lunch bag every day when I go to work. And it's not for me. It's just in case... because I'm all over. I'm a landscaper by trade, and not only am I all over my city, but I'm 3 cities away. I'm doing work, whatever. And if I'm ever out and about doing a job and I see somebody who's in need, I can help that person.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fear, I think, around Narcan with people thinking that people are going to come out of being revived, not necessarily revived, but basically brought back to life. Yeah. And that they're violent. So
that's not even a thought that
What?
has crossed my fucking mind.
They're going to be sleepy.
This is a thing.
That's
this
what they're
is a really
going to
big
be.
misconception. And it's because there are people that do get Narcan back. They get them breathing. They wake up, and they are violent. But it's not because of Narcan. It's because you've thrown this person immediately into withdrawal, and they've woken up with a stranger 2 inches from their face.
Gotcha.
Which is alarming, and also very unpleasant.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, some people do get violent. If I woke up immediately with a terrible hangover and somebody that I didn't know breathing into my face, I would be unpleased. I would not be, I wouldn't pop up chipper and happy.
I never thought about that.
That's the reality of it. It's not that Narcan causes violence or any of these other things. It's
Let's
just
get into myths.
Narcan
That's a good myth.
basically boots
that is
the opioids off of the receptors,
like
and
immediately.
puts a person essentially into withdrawal,
which can be quite painful.
Which can be very unpleasant. Yeah.
So you're telling me Narcan is basically
I think
just
there's
a
a lot
miracle.
of fear too around fentanyl. This is a big misconception.
Yeah,
that's still,
fentanyl.
To this day.
Let's talk about it.
For anybody wondering, you cannot overdose by simply touching fentanyl. It's not a thing. It's not the way powder works. It's not the way your skin works. There are transdermal fentanyl patches that are specifically designed to penetrate the epidermis. But just powder doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
But this lie gets perpetuated, and it stops people from acting. It stops first responders from acting when seconds are literally the difference between life and death, as far as getting somebody naloxone. And that's one of those lies that really, causes death. Like, if you hesitate, if you stop because of this fear that if you're near this person, you touch this person, you get fentanyl on your skin, that you're gonna, you're also at risk. That's gonna stop you from giving this person first aid. That's gonna stop you from, giving this person Narcan, performing CPR, and people die because of that.
Right.
Narcan. So you're telling me Narcan's just a miracle?
Oh yeah, absolutely, without a doubt.
Now, if we're going to talk fentanyl, where does this come into play? Let's assume that I have no frame of reference, which I kind of do, but let's say that I don't have a frame of reference. Why is fentanyl and opioids being discussed in the same breath? The idea that someone's going to get painkillers from their doctor and then start using fentanyl.
Oh,
if that's something
that
you can explain.
Has a lot of tubes.
Okay. A lot of tubes.
That's maybe not like a simple thing, I guess, but fentanyl is a drug that's in every hospital you've ever been in. It's used by anesthesiologists regularly. It's used in surgeries. It's a drug we've had for a very long time. It's not a new thing. Fentanyl has been around for good Lord, at least 50, 60, 70 years now at this point. So for a long time, we've had fentanyl. It's just, I think it just comes down to the iron law. The more that we've pushed back against heroin, the more there was a need to have a product that was more potent and easier to ship. And that's where we're at, really.
I get you.
As far as, pain patients being denied their medications and turning to illicit street drugs, we've had that issue for a really long time now. And I think it's just come down to that, coupled with, the drug war. We're now at the point where we have fentanyl in our supply, and it's everywhere. Fentanyl isn't in just heroin. Fentanyl is in just about every powdered substance that's out there right now. They've found fentanyl in MDMA, in cocaine, in methamphetamine. It's
everywhere.
It's all over.
It's all over.
One of the cool things that budget bill also did was decriminalize fentanyl test strips. Fentanyl test strips used to be considered paraphernalia, and they're no longer considered paraphernalia. So you can go get your own fentanyl test strips.
Yeah.
They're really great, but there's some downsides to it as well. All they do is tell you whether there is fentanyl present or not. It
Not how
doesn't
much.
tell you
Okay.
how much. It doesn't tell you what else is in that substance. So there's still a really good thing, and I would highly suggest anyone buying powdered drugs on the street right now to get some test strips and at least know
if it's real or not.
if it's fentanyl,
If there's fentanyl
or at
in
least
your
this-
cocaine, which you're not expecting
Yeah.
it to be, right?
Right, yeah.
So,
And if you're opioid naive, you know, this is one of those things where I have a little bit of like survivor's guilt because I used to use a lot of cocaine and I used to use a lot of methamphetamine. And the only thing that my drugs were ever cut with back then was baking soda, vitamin B12,
sure.
you know, stuff like that. I never had to really give much thought to, if I snort this whole rail, is someone going to have to Narcan me back to life? Like, that was never a concern. And I stopped using powdered drugs well before any fentanyl hit the supply chain. So I guess there's a little survivor's guilt there for me, but and that's one of the reasons why I carry Narcan. You know?
That's a good reason to carry Narcan.
Yeah.
What about this narrative that I keep hearing about? Obviously the opioids is a complex subject, as you put it, with a lot of tubes in there. But what is this narrative I keep hearing of the idea that pharmaceuticals and lazy doctors kind of teamed up to over-prescribe opioids to get like innocent people hooked on these painkillers? That's not reality. The problem isn't an over-prescription problem. Is that based in any sort of reality that it's an over-prescription problem?
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and say yes and no. I think this is another one of those
I had a
complex
feeling.
issues where so when you talk about opioid tolerance, over time you need more and more of that opioid to get the same effect. So particularly with pain patients, if they're prescribed opioids for a long time, they're going to need higher and higher milligram, higher doses. And so this is kind of where you get into like the pill mill world, which sure, there were bad actors, as in every industry that's ever existed ever till the end of time. So there were bad actors and there were people who were overprescribing, but I think in mass, it's just a misunderstanding of people needing more opioids in order to function. And then when we portray that as, these doctors are prescribing enough opioids to kill a horse.
Right.
Without any nuance, without educating people on how opioids work or why people are taking such high doses.
Right.
We immediately, the media turns on that and rolls with it. And then it all goes downhill from there. And unfortunately, the people that suffer the most are the people that they say they're trying to help. And that's pain patients. That's people who use drugs.
Yeah. It seems like there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation around drug use and harm reduction, much in the same way that there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation about literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
About literally everything.
And I would say with a topic this complicated, if anybody comes in telling you that they, here's exactly what happened and here's the one person that is at fault and that you should blame, you should probably ignore that person because it's never that simple, right? Like I see a lot of people in chat like, oh, the Sacklers. Yeah, they were not good people for sure. But, if you watch Dope Sick on Hulu or anything like that, that's not the full story. It is a lot more complicated than that. And, the issue that we have in this country with overdosing is not just the Sacklers' fault. If you aren't aware of that...
I'm unfamiliar with the Sacklers, fact checker.
The Sacklers are the family that own Purdue Pharma that produce OxyContin.
Okay.
So...
Have you seen that all over the place, too? They're actually taking down, things that have the Sackler name on them.
Yeah.
There was like a library they removed the name plates from.
Really?
And all sorts of things, yeah.
Right. But you guys, they're not the root of all evil. Did they do some careless, crappy, dangerous marketing practices? Yes. But there are a lot of other factors that contributed to where we are now. And it's not just them. So if you're going to watch Dope Sick and then you're going to say, oh, it's all big pharma, that's the only problem, opioids are dangerous and nobody should have access to them, you have missed the entire point. You are wrong, and you need more information, because that's not accurate.
It's
that
like,
that
it's like blaming the current state of vaping in our country on Juul and Juul alone.
Right.
Just Juul.
Just
it's
Juul.
A perfect
It's
analogy,
entirely
Logan.
Juul's fault. Every issue that we have is Juul's fault. I mean, that's
those two guys that went to
just inherently
Stanford
not true.
that originally owned Juul. It's their fault. Those two,
their fault.
Adam, whatever his name is, and the other dude, they
Vaping
did
epidemic.
everything. All of it.
Yeah.
Like, no, it was the CDC. It's the FDA. It's ants groups. There's so many different things going on here. The opioid situation is the same, you guys. Like, there's actually really great people on Twitter, chronic pain patients. I've been getting into this. I don't know if we're going to have time for the Truth Initiative thing.
Oh, yeah.
But I did a tweet, right? Because Truth Initiative is starting to move themselves towards the opioid epidemic. That's a tongue twister.
Opioid epidemic.
Yeah, right. Like, so this issue with drugs.
I think it's better to call it an overdose crisis, because that's really what it is.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's less of an opioid epidemic. Yeah, I think it's better to call it an overdose crisis.
So Truth is trying to get involved in the overdose crisis.
Oh,
and here's their little tweet where they think oh God, they don't even do well in their own lane, and now they're trying to get into other people's lanes. But anyway, so I retweeted this, screenshot only, and I actually started interacting with a lot of what we call CPPs, or chronic pain patients. These are the types of people who are regular, everyday people who suffer from a variety of different ailments. Like, let's say you could be terminally ill with cancer, you could have MS, you could be battling cancer, you could be, post-surgery, you just had a hysterectomy, you just had a leg amputated, like all kinds of different medical things where one might need what's the right word? Opiate, painkiller, narcotic, a pain medication, right? These people have been horribly affected by shows like Dope Sick and this idea that all opioids are bad, we should ban all of them, nobody should get access to them, and that anybody trying to get them is just a drug addict who's making stuff up in the ER so that they can get a fix of, oxy or morphine or whatever it is. These are regular people who need this drug to live, basically, to live a comfortable and not horrifically painful life. And CDC and all of these health, institutions are saying, oh, no, pharmacies won't fill their prescriptions anymore because they just don't want to be associated with opioids. There are literally signs posted at the, your CVS pharmacy at the front of the line that says, well, we may not fill certain prescriptions at our discretion. So basically, there's no guarantee that they will give you your medication because they just
is the almighty drug overlord.
Yeah,
right.
The drug impresario.
Right. Like, they just don't wanna. When there are plenty of people who, as we talked about before, do not have a problematic relationship with these medications, they just need them for their lives to function properly, who are being thrown under the bus and who are literally dying from pain because they can't get their medications. So there's always a double-edged sword to this. It's a lot more complicated. But I started interacting with them on Twitter, and one of the women in particular has a series of different Twitter threads where she's talked about, like, okay, if you watch Dope Sick, here's all the things they got wrong, all of the things that they fed you that are not accurate, that are stigmatizing, that are unfair, that hurt people. And it's a completely different way of looking at it. And I would definitely encourage people to go down that rabbit hole. Because I watched the show and I was like, oh, show. That's what happened. Okie dokie.
Yeah.
And then I got on Twitter
this
and
is
people
based
were like,
in reality.
Right. And people were like, F this effing show. And I was like, wait, what? Why?
Yeah.
And then I dug in and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. This
Yeah.
is not the whole story. This isn't even This is like a fraction of the story. And it's really convenient that they put, the prosecutors and all these, DEA people as the superheroes of this story when they are most definitely not the superheroes in the war on drugs. Okay. They're the people who are putting everyone in jail for using substances. So not the heroes here, not the heroes.
Yeah. Wow. I see. I never watched Dope Sick. The only reason I'm aware of its inaccuracies is just because of the drug people I follow on Twitter. When they start piping up all of a sudden.
Someone in chat said keeping people on opiates will only breed more pain, more violence. There are people who have been on opiates for decades who go about their day every day. There are people on medications like methadone and Suboxone, which are also opioids. And these are some of the most effective medications and means of treatment for people across the country, thousands of people. And it doesn't breed more pain and it doesn't breed more violence. It actually breeds a lot of relief and comfort for people and success in their lives. So yeah, it's actually the opposite of that.
Oh, wait, I think he said keeping people from them will breed more pain.
Oh, did I misread it?
Is it?
My point
was it
still
Tony?
stands. But
Yeah, you're right.
sorry,
Your point still stands. But I think he is saying keeping people from these medications.
Said, I'm sorry, I read it as
them.
on opiates will only breed more pain. I apologize, but yeah, there's a lot of people out there who absolutely need these drugs to function, to live their lives, to go about their day. I mean, there are so many maintenance drugs out there other than opiates that we don't vilify. Simply because maybe they're not psychoactive or whatever. Insulin is one that comes to mind. We don't demonize insulin and vilify diabetics because they need this drug to live their lives.
Right? Are they addicted to insulin?
Patients, it's very much that. I mean, this is a drug that keeps them functioning, that keeps them, going about their day. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's a big part of it too. I mean, you mentioned insulin. I dated a diabetic who had to inject herself with insulin constantly, and it was very much she had been diabetic for so long. She knows her own body. She knows how much insulin she needs in any kind of given situation. And there's this we talk about self-triation. And that's, I mean, it's not so much self-triation as it's like
titration. Are you going for titration?
Titration.
Titration. Yes.
Titration? I've been saying it wrong this whole time.
It comes from the word titrate.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
titrate.
I'll see you guys later.
Titration.
You guys can just finish the stream.
It's us again, Logan. We're
so
taking
embarrassed.
over.
I can't even show my face on the internet right now.
Self-titrate drugs all the time. I mean, anybody here who uses nicotine, you self-titrate
nicotine
regularly. You don't. The reason why the idea that people overdose on nicotine or something like this is so ridiculous because the reasons why we don't is because we vape, we use nicotine until we're satisfied. To anybody out there who's ever smoked too many cigarettes and you get nauseous, you get a little headache, you feel unwell.
When I first started vaping,
I passed out once.
Continue finishing your pack in the next 5 minutes. Like you don't force yourself to, I'm so heavily addicted to this nicotine. I'm going to violently throw up and suffer a migraine so I can keep smoking. No.
Yeah.
The reason you don't is your body, titrating nicotine, that drug. And a lot of people do the same thing with every other drug. I mean, I know personally when I hit a certain point with cannabis and I go, oh, yeah, no, I've had enough. I'm good. Thanks. I've reached that point of where I know there may be bad side effects for me if I continue to use right now. And so I stop there.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are people who titrate and use drugs responsibly every day.
Every single day. Every single day.
Yep.
The vast majority of people, in fact.
Yeah.
Titration.
Titrate.
Tie.
Like tying your shoelace.
Tration.
Yep.
Titration.
Tie first.
Write this down.
Yeah. I have hypothyroidism, and there is a drug that I must take for the rest of my life. Am I addicted to the drug? I am dependent on it. Bad things will happen if I don't take my medication because my body doesn't produce a hormone that it kind of needs for stuff, right? But that's not, it's just, why?
And we
Why?
don't we don't stigmatize people who take like psych meds.
Well, some people do, but you shouldn't.
We do.
You shouldn't. We do, but we shouldn't.
There's so much stigma in
There can be a
mental
lot of
illnesses.
stigma.
Yeah. Yeah, we absolutely do.
Okay,
Which
I
is
don't
like,
like
if
that
you
either.
take-
That's horseshit.
If you take chemotherapy because you have cancer, nobody's like, oh, you're not strong enough to beat the cancer on your own. Like, that's not something that
Yeah.
people say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, have you tried
The
watching birds?
Have you tried
CDC
watching
says.
birds?
It's honestly
Watch
it's my favorite
birds.
statement ever from the CDC, and I use it for everything.
Have you tried watching?
Whenever anybody
guys-
has like an issue, I'm just like, well, have you tried watching birds?
Logan, I'm gonna design a CASAA t-shirt where the joke is,
You
have
should.
you
You
tried
Have you
absolutely
tried
should.
watching
I
birds?
You
would
guys,
buy
would
that
you
shirt.
buy that? Would
I-
you buy a CASAA
I would buy that
t-shirt?
shirt. It's kind of like an inside joke,
Joke?
but it's so
it's
good.
amazing.
It's so juicy.
But it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm writing
it
it
really
down. I'm writing
is.
it
And you
down,
you
so-
got to have somebody with like binoculars and like
Yeah,
a beautiful bird off in the distance that they're watching.
Have you tried watching
my God.
birds? Problems in life?
Yeah.
Have you tried
TDC
watching
recommends.
birds? Have you tried watching birds?
You know, I mean, just imagine going up to a cancer patient while they're getting chemotherapy and going, you know, that's unsafe.
Yeah.
Have you tried watching birds?
Have you?
Yeah,
Much
seriously.
safer.
Much safer. So much safer. You could, just to play devil's advocate, suppose hypothetically, in my best Ben Shapiro voice, suppose hypothetically that you got addicted to bird watching and it ruined your life and you disregard your family and friends and your job and you're like, no, all I want to do is bird watch. Where's my binoculars? I need to be outside all the time bird watching. I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to drink water. I'm going to divorce my wife. I'm going to leave my kids just so I can bird watch. It's a slippery slope, CDC. You don't know what
It
could
is,
addict
it is.
somebody.
Yeah, there's a boiling frog there for sure.
That's the
I
difference
would
between
either A,
problematic
hope that person
relationships.
seeks help, or B, starts a YouTube channel.
Yes.
I
yes.
mean, or
Yep.
like a reality TV show on Bravo.
Hopefully a
'cause
mixture of both, yeah.
I kind of want to see them divorce their wife because they're so obsessed with bird watching. I'm
all,
not gonna
all
lie.
all the person's
That would be
interviews
a
just has
really weird
binoculars on. That's
Conversation.
the whole time.
Kind of want to be a fly on that.
Yeah, what a
wall.
concept.
But have you tried watching birds?
But have you tried bird watching?
So we kind of know how the Truth Initiative is probably going to jump into harm reduction.
Oh God, prohibition all the way.
Prohibition 100%.
Yeah.
800%.
Also, I like clicked that link that's in that tweet and it like takes you to this. Oh my God. They're like, I swear to God, they had an entire section on basically we lied to kids about opioids. And the results from our lying is that 4 out of 5 of them believed our lies.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
Like, that's what
yes.
they pat themselves on the back for. Because if you didn't know, you know, what you may have heard about how addictive or not opioids are that is a complicated, addiction is complicated. So
I heard it takes only 5 days to get addicted
right,
to opioids.
that's what Truth Initiative, it only takes 5 days to get, that's not how any
5
of this
days.
works.
Take one
Like,
a day,
that's
addicted 5
not-
days.
Addiction is so
One bird and
complicated.
you're hooked.
Yeah.
Right. I could take Oxy for 5 days and just stop and, you know, and someone else with a different life experience and in a different situation, this arbitrary, like just one time, just 5 days. This is all bullshit, you guys. But they were like, we told the kids 5 days. And then the kids repeated back to us 5 days.
Yeah.
We have solved the drug problem.
Yeah,
Like,
we
how
solved it.
That's how it reads. Like, I don't understand these people.
Now we just keep the drug war going for the Truth Initiative. And
Because
then
they need funding, right?
'Cause they
like,
need
if you
funding.
watched my video, you
Yeah.
saw that they're not getting the funding from the vaping flow. So maybe they're getting bored and they're moving
yeah.
to another flow. I don't know.
Yeah, somebody in that board
Revenue
meeting was like, so I have an
streams.
idea. There's another community out there that's really suffering and really hurting. What can we do to get funding to fuck with them?
Yeah,
That's what somebody did
literally
in that board meeting.
what
Oh
they
my God,
said.
that's
I
depressing.
believe it, Logan. That is an impersonation of the conversation.
Yeah, it's just going to be a slew of misinformation. They're going to do a lot more harm than good.
Whose lives can we ruin now?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
the truth was like, you know what we should be? We should be Dare. We should be the new Dare. Remember the old Dare, how bad they failed? We should do that.
We're new Dare.
Yeah.
And then we're going to really ironically call ourselves Truth because all we spew is lies. It'll be great.
And then they talk about, like you said in that article, of how successful their lies were.
Oh my, they were like, we lied. They didn't say, I'm paraphrasing because they did lie. Because the whole 5 days thing is bullshit. But they were like, we told kids that they could get addicted in 5 days. And then we asked them how many days it would take to get addicted. And then they said 5. So we've won. We solved the problem. I don't. This is the kind of science you can expect from the Truth Initiative.
Yeah, the Truth Initiative. I think the Truth Initiative is going to have, I don't know, a little bit of an uphill battle. I don't think they're going to be able to swoop in like they did, like they have been. You know, their track record with tobacco and vape prohibition.
They'll have some real okay, you guys.
You think they're going to be legitimized in harm reduction?
No, I think there's going to be an epic smackdown by DPA against Truth Initiative at some point, and I am warming my popcorn for it. I am waiting for it to happen. Yeah. Because they like drug harm reduction space, and I think Logan would agree. I'm jealous of their space because they have they have more credible organizations by and large than the vaping space does, unfortunately. That's just where we are. We are a much younger industry.
A lot longer.
Exactly. We are a much younger industry. You know, the war on drugs has been going on for a bajillion years, right? So they have had time to professionalize and organize. We have not. So you've got organizations like Drug Policy Alliance, DPA, that I keep referring to, who have a lot of credibility, a lot of expertise. Politicians partner with them on bills. Like, they are a very legitimate organization. And if Truth Initiative comes in trying to, like, screw things up, I feel like DPA will, like, melt from the floorboards and, like, smack them, and I want to see it happen. I want to.
And so I have a prediction though that it won't be public. What I predict is you're gonna see a little while where Truth does this opioid thing, and then they just stop. And everybody's gonna go, oh, I thought the Truth was fighting the overdose crisis.
That's a very smart prediction.
That's what I think. I think it's going to happen behind closed doors. I think there's going to be a lot of organizations that send some real nasty emails to Truth.
I think you're right, because DPA is so classy.
Stop seeing these tweets. That's my prediction.
Too classy.
I don't think we're going to see some big public duel, you know, 6 paces and turn kind of situation.
Pistols at
my
dawn.
Dreams, Logan. Just destroy my dreams.
I think at some point here, and I don't think it's honestly going to take. I'll be honestly surprised if it takes, a while.
Too long.
But I think at some point here in the soon future, we're just going to see Truth Initiative go right back to flavors and kids and vaping.
I want it to be public, though.
I do too.
Yeah, so do I.
I want that badly.
For the vindication.
But I just know that a lot of these organizations like DPA are they're not afraid to call people out publicly. That's for sure. But they are also very professional.
Yeah, they are. They're super
and I feel
classy.
like something like this is gonna be some behind closed doors.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Unless Truth Initiative doesn't listen and they power forward anyway, and then they force DPA to come out of the shadows in public.
Oh yeah, that'll be a beautiful day. Yeah, I would never want to be
just crossing our fingers.
On, the opponent's side of Cassandra at DPA.
Oh,
I would never want her mad at me. Yeah, she's a fierce, strong woman, and I would never want to be on the receiving end of that scolding.
No. Not in
I'm
1,000
such a
years.
fan of their organization.
Yeah.
Such a big I look to them as like my harm reduction mentors, as like president of CASAA, of trying to do better, of trying to be a better advocate. Like, that is who I look to. Sheila and, like you mentioned, Cassandra and Ethan, like those are the people that I am like,
I've been a DPA member
Ethan.
since 2018 or 2019.
See, that's cool. See, I just got hip to this stuff. In fact, I clicked over, you guys saw me, I clicked over to the DPA Twitter, and I was like, uh-oh, what if I'm not following them? And then I saw the little thing that said following. I was like, okay. I felt like I was, but I think it would have been embarrassing if I wasn't. I put that link in the chat as well, and I'll put it down in the description.
I'm wearing a DPA shirt.
Are you? Oh,
This is regulate the drugs, free the people, no more drug war.
I love that. Damn,
Free
I love
the
that.
people.
Yeah.
Yep. Somebody said something really funny. Oh, I think it was Barbara, because we were talking about truth and dare. She said truth or dare, and that's funny.
Oh, that's
fun.
fun.
That
Is witty. That's
Barbara,
that's pretty
that's very
delicious,
fun.
Barbara. Well done.
That's a good one.
Well
That's good.
done.
I
I guess we can start wrapping this up. We've been going for about 2 hours strong now. I'm gonna swipe over here and read some of the super chats that I hope are still here. Nope, they're all gone.
Are you? I should have screenshotted them for you.
I'm still gonna hack my mod.
Spectacular. Let's see. I know there was one from Sewer Rug that it just doesn't exist anymore.
I'm going backwards. I see New Wave Dave. He was the most recent.
Yeah, I can see. Ooh, this chat lets me go back even farther. Okay, let's try to find these super chats.
Part-time Vapor.
I know they exist.
Another New Wave Dave.
The YouTube chat doesn't let me go back far enough, but this Ecamm software does.
Oh, nice.
So let's just try to skim. Oh, this is going to be impossible, isn't it? Damn it. Oh, no, here's one. Tim. Tim said, hope you're all well. I'll always enjoy your videos. Thank you for what you do for the community. Yo-yo, a cool kids club. Off to work. Hashtag replay crew. Absolutely, Tim. Yo-yo to ya. I'll catch you on that replay. And honestly, it's my pleasure. I don't want to speak for the panel, but it's my pleasure. It's a labor of love, you know?
It is Nick's.
It's all right.
It is my pleasure.
I'm one of the people that call Nick Nick. Maybe that's
You
weird.
are one of the people that call me Nick. Do you not have a lot of Nicks in your life?
No, I don't. And I'm one of those. Once I know your real name, I'm just gonna call you by your name.
You can call
unless
me
you're like
Nicholas.
explicitly like Logan. Don't call me that. Call me this. Then I'll respect that.
For public appearances, can you please call me GrimmGreen? Logan Exhales.
I will refer to you as GrimmGreen, the big GG.
No.
Wait, I'm trying to think. If I saw you at like the mall and I was trying to get your attention, what would I yell? Would I yell, "Hey Nick," or would I yell, "Hey Grimm"? I think I would yell Nick. I think I would yell Nick.
Yeah,
I would yell Nick. When I ran into Nick in DC, I was filming the rally, the speeches, and I was like, "Oh, there's Nick." And Nick turned around and waved at me. He responds if you say Nick.
Yeah. It's been my
confirmed
name
it for everyone wondering.
It's been my name longer than GrimmGreen has. The problem that I've run into is people in the vape space call me Grimm, and I still have long-term friends, like people I've known since 2009, 2010, that I'm like legitimately good, close friends with now that still call me Grimm. So that's an interesting thing. And then while I was living in the Reno Tahoe area and doing YouTube and Starbucks, you know, I was trying to do YouTube full-time, Starbucks full-time. My bandmates started calling me Grimm. And it didn't make any sense. They called me Nick for years, and then I start this YouTube and they start calling me Grimm.
That's okay. Funny. Nick is the only person that says Logan Exhales every time.
Logan Exhales?
That is true. That is true.
Well, everybody else just says Logan.
Just be thankful I don't include the underscore.
Yeah.
You know.
Thank God for small miracles.
We had
a lot of people call me my full name though, Danielle Jones.
Yeah,
you
Danielle
are not
Jones.
the only one that does that.
Danielle Jones.
Yeah, nobody ever called you Rubber Ducky.
People call me Ducky. They did call me Ducky. They didn't do Rubber.
Okay.
But they did do Ducky.
You'll always be Danielle Jones, my far left fact checker.
Yeah.
It's just how it works. Super chat from Tuna. Chris, how you doing? Much love. You guys are legends. Keep doing what you do. I will definitely keep doing what I do. I don't know that we're legends, but I appreciate that you think we are. That goes a long way, you know?
It's a nice sentiment.
It's a very nice sentiment. I don't feel like a legend. Barbara Burgess, super chat. Shout out my cat, Mickey, who's been neutered today. Oh, my condolences, Mickey. Please spay and neuter your pets and anyone who doesn't support harm reduction. That's right. We can't.
Oh, yes. Spay
anybody
people.
That does,
neuter.
I don't think we should fight back with harm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of defeating our purpose.
We can't do the harm. We have to reduce it. We can't create it.
Yeah.
As funny as that is, we can't do that.
Yeah.
We can't.
As opposed to neutering, I suppose that we make sure we distribute safe sex supplies.
Yeah. Let's hand out condoms.
Definitely. Exactly.
I feel like is that a fair compromise?
I feel like
that's
I'm
a really
into it.
good
I'm
idea.
into it.
We should be doing that already.
I'm into it.
I don't know if there are safe sex supplies for animals, but for the people.
I don't know.
For animals, probably not. It's just awkward to get it on the dog and everything. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but for people.
I want to get the condoms, though, printed that says, but have you tried bird watching?
Oh. On the wrapper, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
You should CASAA brand them.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is brilliant.
Send like a 3-pack out with every t-shirt.
Exactly, you guys. But have you tried bird
I'm
watching?
behind this idea. I mean, we got to get the rest of the board on board, but
there needs to be a vape company that takes this idea and like throws it on a disposable box or something that says, before you vape this product, the CDC recommends bird watching.
Yeah. Oh, that's really funny. If I were a manufacturer, I would do that in a heartbeat.
There's got to be a way that we can get little like 50-cent telescopes or something. Like real cheap, super like penny telescopes from China.
Like
that we can
keychains
send
or something?
out with vape gear. And be like, listen, CDC recommends that you try this first.
Have you tried bird? We need binoculars though, right? That's what you bird watch with?
I feel like there's got to be some really cheap, effective way to send out some little bird watching supplies.
Before you try the most successful quit smoking aid in the history of time, CDC recommends you should try bird watching first.
Yeah.
Because of its long history of success.
Long history of success. Everybody knows. Bird watching is the way to go. Hang on. Let me read some more of these super chats here.
They keep piling up. You gotta.
There was one. Dave Lloyd says, Legion Vapes House Spider Frank. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Frank, but he's a gigantic huntsman spider that lives in Legion Vape's office. It's no big deal.
Nope.
Apparently Frank hacked his Addy. That's crazy. I had a feeling Frank was going to do that. Hacking the Addies. Sewer Rug in with the super chat. It says, Logan Exhales, your beard hacked my brain and filled it with harm reduction knowledge.
Ooh.
1010 would highly recommend everyone follow him. Let me tell you, I've been following Logan Exhales for a minute.
Review.
That
was a very creative review.
Look, Matt is Sewer Rug is quite the witty fellow, if he doesn't mind me saying so. We had another one here from Part-Time Vapor says, my wife has real health issues, the major one being a rejected spinal fusion with 5 inches of titanium and screws. She literally cannot function with opioids, and she is still never pain-free.
Oh, without opioids?
Yeah, she cannot function without opioids, and she is still never pain-free. That means, she's not getting full relief even.
No, it's just tolerable.
It just becomes tolerable, and you need it every day.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're at the point where,
and there should be no stigma around that.
Is only getting you to the point of tolerable. This is somebody who is severely in pain.
Yeah, severely in pain.
And we're so apt to say, no, your medication is bad, it's evil, it's wrong, and you shouldn't take it.
Yeah.
You should just suffer and live in pain.
Unreal. There's no empathy there. Yeah. That's my word of the year, empathy.
Mm-hmm.
New Wave Dave. Worst thing I ever had to come off was Zoloft and Depakote. I'm not saying that right.
A medication name. They're all complicated to say.
He says my skin crawled for a week and I wanted to blow my brains out. And that sounds awful, and I don't want to have anything to do with that. Zoloft, that's a prescription, what is that?
Antidepressant.
Antidepressant Zoloft is? Okay. Mm-hmm. And that, that's interesting. Psychological meds are an interesting thing as well.
Yeah, I took Zoloft once upon a time. I'm pretty sure it's antidepressant.
Okay. Well, we had another one from New Wave Dave. I have a loved one who's abusing pharmaceuticals. I won't mention their name right, meow, but I think you know. It's his cat. It's his cat, everybody.
Oh, his cat.
New Wave Dave's cat is quite the hoodlum, from what I understand. If all the stories are true, then that's it. So we had New Wave Dave. We got one from Fishy here. I got to get going, y'all. Have a great night, cool kids. GrimmGreen, Danielle THR, and Logan Exhales from Fishy. I appreciate you more than you realize, Fishy. I hope you have a great night. Fishy's just a stand-up guy. Speaking of stand-up guys, we got Matt Sinister in the house. Club Sinister says, Nick only calls me Matt Sinister. Yep, that's true.
You just did it.
Yep, not Matt, not sinister. It's Matt Sinister always. Love you guys. Keep up the good fight. Hashtag Club Sinister. Yeah. If you want some fitness inspiration, motivation, follow Matt Sinister on Instagram. He's week 45, 46 of getting his health back. He's on a juice cleanse right now, so my condolences to you, Matt Sinister.
Oh, dear.
But he's hitting the gym every day and just crushing it and going on this health journey, and it's fantastic.
Matt, I want you to know that I fell off the wagon a bit, but you're still my inspiration for going back to the gym.
Were you going back to the gym because of Matt Sinister?
I was.
Awesome.
I fell off the wagon a bit.
Hey, that's okay. We all do.
It happens, right?
It happens.
But yeah,
I threw the wagon off a cliff.
Matt's definitely an inspiration.
When it comes to exercise, the wagon and I don't speak.
Here's my only exercise advice. So it's not much, but take it for what it's worth. I've said this before, but Kent, Twisted Messes,
oh God,
the coil builder.
He's a beefcake now.
He is a beefcake now. But he put this idea in my head of what I call passive exercise, right?
Oh, you told me about this.
It works. Every so often throughout the day, just stop and do some push-ups. 5 at a time, maybe. It started off with me thinking I should be able to do at least one really perfect push-up every single day. And 1 became 5, 5 became 10. And if you do that 3 times a day, at the end of the day, you're doing 30 push-ups a day. But it doesn't feel like you're sitting down at the gym and going, all right, I'm going to do 30 push-ups right now. It's passive. I keep weights in my bedroom and I keep weights in the living room. So anytime I'm walking by the weights, I go, oh, I'll pick those up, maybe do like a set of 10, set them back down, go back to work. I go upstairs to go pee. Oh, there's my weights again. Let's pick those up. Let's do 10 more. At the end of the day, you've done 20, 30, 40 curls. And it doesn't feel like you're carving time out to go to the gym and to exercise. You can just do it passively. It works. It works. Do some squats.
Yeah, I go to the gym for the treadmill because I don't own a treadmill.
You got streets and you go outside and run.
He got ice
kidding.
and snow.
Yeah,
Man,
I know.
It's cold.
I
mean,
that.
You know, good on the people that don the Under Armour and they go for jogs when it's 15 degrees and we've got 4 feet of snow outside right now. Yeah, more power to them. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go hit the nice 72-degree gym with the treadmill.
I would have
asthma. Snow and ice.
I notice you have some stairs behind you, Logan Exhales. One of my
I do. I climb those frequently.
You could run up
see
and
my
down
calves
stairs. What I used to do for cardio when I was living in the North Parker apartment in San Diego was literally just run up and down my stairs. I would put something on TV at the top of the stairs. So when I came around and looked at the TV and went back down, went back up, looked at the TV, went back down, just up and down stairs for my cardio. Yeah. That's what I did.
Yeah.
That
passively.
Is low budget exercise.
Low budget, passive exercise, man. I'm telling you, it works wonders. Before you know it, you go to pick up your weights one time, you're like, oh, these feel lighter. Now I can do 20.
Yeah.
Every time I pass my weights.
Yeah, I still go to the gym. I enjoy the gym. I think there's a lot of different things that I can do with the equipment there as opposed to at home. I'm not, saying everybody should go to the gym. There's a lot of great exercises you can do from home with zero equipment.
The gym is a big motivator, though. More so than just walking past your weights. Like taking the time to go to the gym, it's a motivator. You do. Day. Yeah, you do.
And a lot of people don't have that time.
I used to go to the gym.
Those little moments where you can do stuff is really a good thing.
I used to be a gym guy. I'd get off work at 7 in the morning from Starbucks. I'd go straight to the gym, work out for an hour, go home, shoot and edit videos, sleep for 3 hours, go back to work, do the whole thing over again.
Yeah,
it's
ridiculous.
Lot of caffeine. And tons of caffeine. Tons of caffeine and honestly so much McDonald's. Crazy amounts of McDonald's. I was eating McDonald's every night of the week and every morning for 9
how
months.
Well do you
Sounds
think you
so
were
good right
counteracting
now.
that with your gym time?
I feel I'm glad I was going to the gym during that time. I'm glad I was going to the gym. I mean, I'm not joking. It was 9 solid months of McDonald's every night and every morning. And every morning I would go overboard and get 2 sausage McGriddles with cheese every morning.
Oh,
for
that's
9
my
months.
favorite.
I know. I just had
so
one.
Little.
They're so great. That's why I always got 2.
I'm really basic. I just get the sausage McMuffin.
Oh, you
and a
gotta
hash
get the
brown.
McGriddle.
If you get
it's
add
like a
cheese
pancake
though. Add cheese.
with cheese, a pancake,
Sausage
soaked in maple
McGriddle,
syrup.
add cheese.
Okay, next
It's
time I go.
amazing.
Next
It's
time I go.
Life-changingly good. Life-changingly
Yeah,
good.
I'm real boring with McDonald's. It's a hash brown and a sausage McMuffin.
Well,
No, we've got.
despite that statement, I'm still glad you came on this stream, Logan
I mean,
Exhales.
I don't know. I have regrets. I have doubts.
That's what I
Anybody
mean. Listen,
who passes on the McGriddle
you
might
teach
have a
their own.
problem.
Different folks, different strokes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what
You're
this is all
sketching me
about.
out.
I just
Man.
can't get past
That's the meat and bolts of it.
The weird bubbles of syrup that's in the griddle pancake.
They're the
like,
best.
That's
part.
like the bonus part of the whole McGriddle.
I don't know. It's just me, I guess.
Full of
Like I want
surprises.
to drizzle
Don't you
my
like
syrup
lava
on my
cakes?
pancakes.
It's the
I don't
same
know. I don't need these weird frozen, unfrozen, slightly
They are
cooked,
not
kind of
frozen.
mushy bubbles of syrup
If they're
my-
frozen,
in
you
my
need to
pancake.
complain.
Or
No, no,
pancake
no.
like
I just
thing.
like watching Danielle defend McGriddles.
No,
just
I will
to the.
I will die
This
on
is
the
the hill.
McGriddle hill. I love these little bitches.
So in case anyone's wondering, this is basically how a CASAA board meeting goes.
Basically.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I
yeah.
I'm just
defend
kidding.
Yeah.
my unpopular opinions to a room full of people yelling at me. That's
Yeah.
basic. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
Look, we air some unpopular opinions here too.
I have a lot of unpopular food opinions.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, Danielle
I
Jones
mean,
does.
just kind of watching chat throughout the night, I feel like I definitely have a lot of unpopular opinions, but I hope that some of what we talked about tonight at least gets people curious enough to look a little deeper, look a little harder, visit places like DPA, Drug Policy Alliance, where they have the statistics of the drug war. They have the history of the war on drugs, and they talk about how these things affect everyone, literally everyone in your communities, your friends, your family, in one way or another, to hopefully at least maybe bring a little bit of empathy into the way that you view people who use drugs.
A little bit of empathy, a little bit of humanity, a little bit of, I mean, there's so much involved with it. A little bit of not stigmatizing people.
Yeah, a lot less judgment. How about?
A lot less
Treating
judgment.
people who do something you don't necessarily agree with as human beings still, with dignity that they deserve.
Yes.
I think hopefully through this, a lot of people who may be on the fence or have not fully embraced, like you said earlier, harm reduction, the greater harm reduction movement.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope that this at least plants the seed to get curious, to find some compassion for people, everyday
It's very well said. Very well said, Logan Exhales. And this obviously isn't going to be the last time we ever talk about this, because harm reduction is harm reduction is harm reduction. And, I only know it through tobacco harm reduction, but I'm excited and I feel motivated and inspired by people in the greater harm reduction space for how long they've been going. We're talking about 40, 50 plus years of this. And I'm looking at my calendar going, all right, I've got a solid 11 under my belt. Oh, shit. Okay. So this is going to be a long one. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny for me. I guess it's not funny. I don't know if that's the right word. But I didn't know what harm reduction was until I started vaping.
Yeah,
I got
same.
into tobacco harm reduction.
Same.
But I already had experience in harm reduction in my own drug use.
Sure.
Amongst me and my peers, we used to buy boxes of straws and we would cut them and we would use them once. That's horrible for the environment. Looking back, I understand disposable straws. I get the point there. But the idea was that we were always using something clean as opposed to rolling up dirty dollar bills and things like that. We would try to mitigate our risk there.
Yeah.
We would always check in on each other. We would never use a loan. We would always make sure people, like if you couldn't sleep, we would at least accommodate our friends, like lay down, dark room, rest. Have you eaten? Making sure everybody has like water. When was the last time you drank? Like all these really pragmatic harm reduction things we were doing. And I had no idea. Like we were just like, this makes us feel better when we use these drugs. Like this just seems safer. Seems like the right thing we should do.
Yeah.
Without any real realization that these were things that were already like part of this harm reduction movement in drugs that we had never even heard of.
Yeah.
And so when I got into vaping and I started looking into tobacco harm reduction and learning more about that, it kind of just led me down the rabbit hole to the greater harm reduction movement. And I was like, oh, I've been here.
Yeah.
Like I'm familiar with this. I already, I'm already opposed to the drug war. I already understand these things. I just didn't know this existed as a whole thing.
Right. Yeah. Like things like the Drug Policy Alliance.
Yeah. I had no idea
know.
what DPA was. I'd never heard of DPA.
No. And that's
not until
same.
again 2016, 2017, 2018.
Same. See, I'm even
like
later
that.
to the party than that. Ethan Nadelman wasn't on my radar until like 2019, I think.
Yeah. So I quit smoking the summer of 2017. I think I joined CASAA spring of 2018 or something like that. I became a member, and I think later that year I became a member of DPA. So I want to say it was 2018.
Yeah. That's good. Well, look, let's wrap this up. There was one more super chat from Matt Sinister that says Logan has to take Duchess for a walk in the snow. Duchess just walked right behind you. And I was like, oh, time for Duchess's walk. Time for his walk out in the snow. Duchess clarified. That's okay.
He's acclimating well to New York weather, though.
Yeah, it seems like it.
It's a rough change to go from Arizona to New York going into winter, especially western New
York.
Yeah, that is a huge change.
Lake effect snow, so he's acclimating really well.
You get that cement that falls from the sky. It's like heavy, wet snow. Is that lake effect snow? Yeah. It's just concrete.
Yeah. We've had over 4 feet of it here.
What? Oh. That is bonkers. Yeah. You know what temperature it is in Los Angeles right now?
Probably 73.
76.
Ooh.
I'm 70.
Dude, it's going to get up to in the 80s this week. That's bonkers.
It is currently 25 and feels like 15.
Oh my goodness.
I don't want to be anywhere near that.
Yeah.
Say what you will about California, but damn it, the weather's good here.
I got highs in the 70s for us.
It's cold. I wouldn't trade it, though. New York is a beautiful state. We just have a terrible government.
Same. California.
Yeah.
Beautiful state. Terrible government.
Our state rules. Rules.
New York
Gorgeous.
is home for me. I've lived here. I've lived in California as well. I used to live in Lemon Grove, California, right near old San Diego.
Yeah. Grover. That's what we called you guys.
Right where Lemon Grove is.
I didn't know there was a place called Lemon Grove.
But I did. I lived there for a few years when I was younger. But, as much as I complain about winter and like the bitter cold and things here, I wouldn't trade it. I don't think I would trade it for anything. I like having all 4 seasons. I like having snow at Christmas. Things like that.
I miss the snow sometimes. I miss the snow at Christmas, but California.
I will tell you,
great.
Being a landscaper makes you it's kind of bittersweet when it comes to some of the seasons when you work with the seasons. Like spring for me isn't all about sunshine and new flowers. Most of the time it's about grass that's growing way too quickly and too much rain. Yeah, most things are mud in the spring here. Like my whole life is mud.
Springtime in California is amazing.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. It's great here. Just trying to talk up California because everyone shits on it, but I like California. I was born in California. I live currently blocks away from where my dad grew up in California, in the Valley, and so I feel like I have this like familial root connection to California, to Southern California. That's why I like being here.
I mean, I enjoyed California. I mean, the weather was great. I learned how to surf when I lived there.
Yep.
Just really cool. I could never live there again, though. I don't think. I think New York is where I'm going to settle for the rest of forever, buried in the snow.
No one's asking you to move,
mud.
Okay? So, just buried in the cement and mud.
Yeah.
Horribleness. Yeah. We are spoiled, but all right, you guys. Well, listen, this has been a really great conversation. I really appreciate you coming on, Logan Exhales. I'd love to have you on again to talk about drugs some more and harm reduction. And I think this is a really good thing for tobacco harm reduction and harm reduction to I think we can help, and I think they can help us. I think it's going to be a mutually beneficial thing because nicotine's a drug. And if we're going to talk about harm reduction, let's talk about harm reduction. That includes less harmful alternatives to smoking.
I think a lot more of it rests on us to make those relationships. Most harm reductionists at large that I know or speak to fully embrace tobacco harm reduction.
Yeah.
They embrace vaping. They recognize it as, they recognize the difference in nicotine and smoking and routes of administration. Like they're well equipped with that knowledge. It's really on us to start viewing, this as the greater harm reduction movement and embracing that side.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. 100%. And I'm not surprised I'm not surprised that the harm reduction guys are on board with vaping. It wasn't even a question for Alex Wodak. Despite his affluent career in harm reduction, of course he's on board with vaping instantly, right away on board with vaping, right away being an advocate for it.
I think that sometimes they may not be as well versed in the nuance of things here. I think it's still easy to view incumbent tobacco companies as the greatest evil we face or things like that.
Sure.
I think all too often they are much more receptive of us than a lot of people in our community can be of them, and I think that's on us to change that more than than it's on them to embrace us.
Yeah,
preach.
Yeah. Look, I'm here for it. I'm trying to make some inroads. I'm trying to make some friends. Trying to get as involved and as educated as I can, because I'd like to be knowledgeable on the subject. And it's fascinating. Like it goes hand in hand, and there's so many parallels with THR and regular, and I don't want to say regular drug harm reduction, but drug harm reduction, tobacco harm reduction. So many parallels, so much misinformation, so many different narratives.
And I don't know about anybody else out there, but I always go back to thinking about how hand in hand smoking went with my drug use.
Oh, really?
And the opportunities that are present there to meet people where they are, not only to reduce harms in their life by making their drug use more, safer, but also those opportunities that are right there to help people with what they want to do with nicotine. If they choose to use a safer nicotine product as well. Yeah. And further reduce harm in their lives.
Further reduce harm. Look, I agree. There was one topic, we'll save it maybe for a few weeks from now. Smoking weed isn't so good for you as people. There's a lot of science that combusting cannabis is really very bad for you. And there's so much pushback in the cannabis world and the cannabis community that they just have this head in the sand mentality about all of this science that shows that combusting cannabis, like smoking the joint, it's not like you might as well be smoking a cigarette, but you kind of might as well be smoking a cigarette in regards to the harm that it does to your lungs.
I can only imagine the biggest pushback there. The challenge is how long people have been using cannabis
and the frequency.
And
the frequency.
I know that there's a lot of debate around mental health and cannabis as far as like psychosis and stuff like that's concerned.
A lot.
But I'd be really interested in seeing some more research on things like lung cancer and emphysema, COPD, lung disease from combusting cannabis, especially when we prescribe cannabis for cancer patients, lung cancer, things like that. So I think there's a lot there. I think there's a lot there we still have to learn for sure.
Look, I agree. And I agree.
And I
don't even want
when
to
you
open
smoke
this can of
cannabis,
worms
you
right
don't
now.
necessarily do it at the frequency that you do when you smoke cigarettes. So, I mean,
no, I think the average person who smokes cigarettes smokes more than the average person who combusts cannabis. I definitely know people though that definitely smoke 20 joints a day.
Yeah.
I mean,
look,
sure.
Maybe not 20 at the day, but my worst, I was knocking on like 8 a day.
Yeah. Worst or best?
At my worst. At my best. We're talking about not summer, but like spring 2020, peak pandemic. You know, first lockdown orders or whatever. And I just thought, oh, okay, I stay home, smoke a bunch of weed all the time, and it got out of hand. Like it got straight up out of hand. Wake and bake first thing, a couple before lunch, one after lunch, one before dinner, one after dinner. It's like 8, 9 a day till I finally reeled myself back and went, okay, let's calm down here a little bit on this.
But someone who smokes 8 or 9 cigarettes a day would probably be considered a fairly light smoker, right?
Yeah.
Right. If you smoke,
I used to be a much heavier
5
cannabis
cigarettes
smoker.
a day. Yeah.
Very light now. Helps me
same.
sleep.
Same. I'm very light. I wait until I don't use cannabis until the weekend. And then during the week, I wait until after all my work is done and I have some, well, look, Grimm's Greens. I'm slinging some D8. I have some Grimm's Greens.
I saw that.
Puts
I like
me in
your
a nice.
packaging, by the
I
way.
do too.
Kudos
Thank
on the
you
nice
very
packaging.
much. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a lot going into that packaging, and these products are great. And it's use that during the week after work. You know, no more wake and bake, no more peer pressure, man. On a Monday morning, I'll get on a stream with my patrons, and Bill, Taco Me Bro, will just be like, "Wake and bake, have a morning bag, have a morning joint." Like, don't even say that because I want to. And if you say it again, I will. So please don't say that.
Yeah, I think the older I get, the more stern, I guess. I don't know how to say this, but it's really easy for me to just be like, no, that's okay.
Sure.
And I'm the guy that everybody
discipline.
I could
That's
be
what
in
you
a room
call
of 100
discipline.
people, and they could all be like, do it, and I'll just be like, no, it's okay.
No, it's all right. No, I'm fine.
No. If
Like
peer
if I
pressure,
don't want to
I'm
do
like,
something, I'm not going to do it.
no, I don't wanna do
I'm
that.
too old for that shit.
Yeah, no, same.
Oh, yeah, that could be green thumb. You know, some of my first ones that I rolled were real dumb little pinners. Yeah, little pinners are terrible.
I don't know what a pinner is.
Sometimes you only have enough for a pinner.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's a joint that when you end up rolling it, it looks like a toothpick.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just a
Like
little,
a real little.
little guy.
Because you have not very much weed?
Either or you're just bad at rolling, which I never got good at. So all my joints were terrible till I discovered cones, and then like that got out of hand. Pre-rolls, that gets out of hand. So now I strictly volcano everything because it's a longer process. I have to deliberately want to do it rather than just like, I can go outside and smoke this joint real quick and get stoned. It's like, okay, I have to warm up the volcano to the right temperature. You got to put it in the little cauldron. You got to attach the bag. You got to run through this whole process. I want my cannabis consumption to be more deliberate and not so, sure, I'll have a joint in the morning, Bill. Let's go.
Yeah, when I was 16, it was a daily event to hollow out a cigar and pack it with at least a quarter.
Okay,
Yep,
I did that one time,
Yep,
and I think
I've
it
done
was
that.
the cigar papers, but it made me ill. Ew, never again.
Yeah.
So we used to use green leaf cigars because they would burn long, like for a real long time.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what this was, but I was very
Keep it
ill.
smoldering.
No, thank you.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
we would have a a blunt, for lack of a better term, I guess here, go for like 3 hours.
Yeah,
you know?
hours. Yeah, hours.
Yeah.
That's good though. That's like a bonding. One of my favorite pre-COVID things was joint sharing. When you had a good one or a big one and you get like 3 or 4 people and you all share it and you all kind of experience it together.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a
Can you imagine the
that's like
germs
a thing.
now?
Puff, puff, pass. I know. Now it's like, well, why don't I just chew on glass?
Yeah,
terrible.
why don't I just lick the pavement?
Yeah, it's good times. Okay, now we've really run long.
We gotta go.
But that's okay.
We have to.
We're going to end this stream here one more time. Let me thank you, Logan Exhales, for being a subject matter expert for us, helping educate us. I follow your lead, when it comes to drug harm reduction stuff. And you're just a very valuable asset, and I appreciate you tremendously, sir. And thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
People should follow Logan Exhales. I'll put Logan Exhales' Twitter in the description of this video, along with mine and Danielle's too. You can follow us. It doesn't much matter, but follow
cool
Logan
too.
for sure. Yeah. Actually, Danielle has a much better Twitter feed than I do. That's like I don't even know what I'm doing on Twitter anymore.
Half the time I'm just
I
talking
go
about
through
Wordle,
phases
you
like
guys.
that.
Yeah. It's like, what is even this? What am I doing? Anyway.
I'm like, I solved Wordle today. That's a lot of my tweets.
Everybody solves Wordle.
Oh my
These
god,
little
I love Wordle.
squares haunt my dreams.
Haunt
I
me.
love Wordle.
Casey's obsessed with Wordle. Her friends from work will text her like at 6 in the morning and go, I already solved the Wordle today.
Yeah, dude, first thing I do, wake up, pee, Wordle on the toilet. That's
Yeah.
what I'm doing.
Let me
Doing
tell
the
you,
Wordle.
as a dyslexic, Wordle can eat it.
I mean, all right.
Eat it.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I love it.
I know, a lot of people do. You might as
I
well
feel
just
kind
make
of
me wake up and do
competitive.
math. Like that sounds about as much fun.
I would
Mathel.
much rather wake
Up
up
and do math. Wake up and do some long division with fractions. Like, okay, well, why don't I just... It's terrible.
I was so proud of myself because Wordle was actually trending on Twitter at like in California time, like midnight or something. The new Wordle was already out for the day, and apparently people were having a really hard time solving today's. My husband didn't even get today's, but I got it in 3 tries.
Wordle.
Sorry.
You know, Wordle champion. There's a Wordle
I'm just
skit
gonna
on
brag
SNL, and I'm like, I don't even know
about
what
my
this
Wordle.
is. My wife had to explain to me what Wordle was while we were watching this SNL skit about Wordle.
I had to Google it.
I didn't even
I
know.
couldn't
There's
figure
going to be
out.
like a professional Wordle championship or something.
I
Yeah, there
downloaded
definitely
2
is.
apps that were not Wordle because I assumed Wordle was an app. One of them I paid for, okay, and it was a mistake. So it took me a minute to figure out what was going on, but I finally got
You
it.
got hoodwinked there. That's a
I
bummer.
did.
That's okay.
They were like, app, Wordle, exclamation point. And I was like, this must be it. $1.99. Okay. Nope.
that seems
Wrong app.
reasonable.
I
Look
mean,
how peer
$1.99.
pressured you were by Wordle.
I wanted to play the word games,
Yeah,
man.
peer pressure.
And
That's
then
why I'm
after,
not
like,
playing Wordle.
where's the green and yellow and gray squares? I don't understand. So then I had to Google it, and somebody was like, linked to it finally. And I was like, oh, it's a website. Jesus.
Wordle.
Yeah. Who uses websites anymore? This is
I know.
websites.
I was like,
Everything's on an
how
app.
is this not an app?
Unreal.
What is wrong with you people? But fine, I'll go
What?
on your website.
a game on a website.
Yeah.
It's 2022.
It's 2022.
Seriously.
What is this, Peggle? You remember Peggle? No?
I don't.
No one ever played Peggle? All right.
But New York Times just bought Wordle, so we'll see what happens. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, my wife's out of town tonight, so all I'm going to do is play Zelda Breath of the Wild. That's it.
Okay.
That's my
All
whole
right.
plan. I'm going to waste the entire evening playing Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I can't get enough
Danielle,
of it.
is it the New York Times crossword guy? That's amazing.
So the New York Times people bought Wordle, but Wordle is invented by a rando dude, I believe.
I'm just wondering if, because it's the crossword guy for New York Times. I think it's New York Times that has the vape.
Oh, the
stuff.
vape stuff? Oh no.
Yeah.
This is a different guy, unfortunately. That would be dope if he was the same guy.
I was gonna
No.
say, can we get this guy involved with this Wordle situation?
Oh,
and
that
start
would be hilarious.
sneaking in some positive vape messaging?
I mean, now that
Yeah.
they've bought them, maybe there will be some vape related words. That
I have
pop
high
up.
hopes.
Who knows? Yeah, if you guys haven't
On the
seen
conversation
Wordle-
of
Wordle's
cannabis
taken
as
over
well,
the
I have high
world.
hopes.
Wordle
Yeah.
is taking over the world.
I believe there's a pro vaping New York Times crossword puzzler who inserts pro vape things into the New York Times Sunday crossword puzzle, and it's glorious. I'm into it.
I would be a terrible
That's not a bad
investor because here's the
conspiracy.
thing: I'm the guy that whenever these new things come out, I'm like, that's never gonna last.
Yeah, I'm the same
TikTok
way.
happened, and I was like, it's never gonna last. It's gonna die like Vine.
Yeah.
Look at TikTok now.
Yeah,
Never
no, I said
hire
the same
me
thing.
to like decide your investments.
Are you roughly how old are you, Logan Exhales? If you don't mind me
He's
asking.
younger than me.
How old are you?
30.
Yo, you're 30. Oh, okay, you're just a youngin' then. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
this
I'm
thing. There's this excuse I always use, and it might not be that legitimate, but I always say, well, I'm a Gen Xer. So
Mm-hmm.
I adapt to new technology like a millennial, but I get mad about it like a boomer. That's where I sit.
That's actually me for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
That's me,
refused.
especially with Facebook.
Yeah.
After Snapchat, once Snapchat, I was like, no, Instagram was the last one. I'm fucking done. No more.
That's
I'm
it.
not
No
doing
more
it.
social medias.
No more.
Done with them.
There better be something very impressive. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on Snapchat. I got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I don't even use 2 of those anymore. So, no. I'm done.
Yeah,
No
I don't
more.
tick or talk.
Well, I
The
only
videos
YouTube,
are
so-
funny though. It's like me with Vine. I would watch Vine compilations on YouTube. I never was like on Vine, but I do appreciate the humor.
Yeah, Bad Dad lives in my head rent free.
Yeah. Dude,
Yeah,
my
bad
favorite
dad.
Instagrammer, I have to shout this guy out. He's got 1 trillion followers. He doesn't need it. PD USA is the funniest Instagram account I may have ever come across. His reels are comedy gold. Look at PD USA. Everybody, PD USA. It's amazing. He's hilarious. Okay, that's all. Let's end this stream, you guys.
Yeah, seriously, we're gonna talk forever.
One last time. Thank you, Logan Exhales, for being on the stream today. I appreciate you. Danielle Jones, you know I always appreciate you being here and being my fact checker. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you that everybody's down for the cause. Harm reduction to the moon. We're going to reduce the harm in the world if it's the last thing we do.
Yep.
Reduce the harm for everybody. Help some people stay alive. I don't have any sort of outro or anything like that for this particular stream, so we just wave here, Logan Exhales.